This conference will now be recorded.
So, Councilman Washington, you said that Anwar is supposed to be here.
No, he can't make it. He has.
He can't make it. Okay, I thought you said. I think that's the whole committee.
Yeah, this is it. Everybody's here,
Okay.
so, go ahead.
Well, we want to
Mayor.
welcome everybody on behalf of Councilwoman Dykes and Councilman Washington, and myself, the Community Outreach Committee. Councilwoman Dykes is the chairman, doing a great job. We welcome y'all. Tonight we got some special guests with us, some folks we've grown to really love and respect over the past few months of talking, and that's Dr. Wayne Vickers and his wife Pam. Dr. Vickers is the superintendent of the City of Alabaster schools. He helped start that program. He also helped start the Saraland, Alabama school system, which is doing awesome. He also used to teach at Crestmont, or was principal at Crestmont, and principal at Hillcrest Middle School. And Pam has taught at Crestmont. Was it Crestmont?
No, I attended Crestmont.
Attended Crestmont. That's what it was.
Northport Junior, and I worked at the University of
Now,
Alabama.
was Wayne one of your principal when you went?
No, Dr. Hinton can vouch for that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Come sit up here. There's a seat. You're the only
But,
one. Scott's got his own desk.
I've been in contact with Dr. Vickers. I've heard about him. I've known of his successes at different schools, and he has graciously consented to come and share with us. You know, it's been, well, since 2008, when I first became mayor, I've always want to see Northport have its own school system. I've told folks many times we're the 21st largest city in the state, third largest city in the state without our own school system. It kills us economically. As far as recruiting businesses, it keeps our property values down because we don't have our own school system. But what I'd like Dr. Vickers to do is maybe give us an overview of the successes he's had, the steps he had to go through, the challenges he had to face, just anything that you think would be beneficial to this group. And what I want to do, I've introduced Dr. Vickers and his wife Pam. We'll go around the room and introduce everybody again. Giovanni?
Giovanni Gomez with Jalapenos Restaurants here in Northport and Tuscaloosa, Northport resident, of course, been living here for about 20 years now. I appreciate you taking the time to come and share with us.
And we've been in your restaurant.
Thank you.
We
Very happily.
Thank you.
And some of our kids,
Yes.
and our credit card.
Yes.
I'm actually missing my normal Thursday night right now.
We'll make it work.
We thought he was gonna bring some margaritas. You missed that memo.
I can still make a phone call.
We've met. I'm Jamie Dykes. I am City Councilwoman for District 4, and I'm so excited that y'all are here. And I'm so excited that all the committee is here too. So, like, I'll just be smiling all night. I think I've like taken something, and I really haven't. I'm just
Yeah. I'm Heather Dill, and I live in Northport. I grew up here. I work in the city of Tuscaloosa, though, and I know how amazing a city school system can be. My husband was actually at Pelham High School for a little bit, and I always tell people that we didn't beat a lot of people. We always beat Thompson. Like, we knew that was always, we were always going to beat Thompson, and then now they're hard to beat.
My name is Woodrow Washington. I'm City Council District 2. I also own the Archibald and Woodrows as well.
Been there quite a
Happy to be out
bit
here.
too.
Appreciate
Been
you.
there quite a bit too.
Hey, I'm Crystal Buck, and I'm a local business owner, and I've lived in Northport for about 14 years, and from a small town called Winfield that has a fantastic school system, so that's definitely where my heart is.
Yeah, I'm Bobby Herndon, land surveyor and mayor of 27,000 citizens, and we're just very thankful and grateful that y'all are taking your time to come here. So we're going to turn it over to you for anything you want to say, and then we'll leave some time for some questions and comments. I'm very surprised that word didn't get out and the press is not here. I'm very surprised that a lot of the citizens are not here, but it worked out just right.
Sometimes great things happen in small groups.
Oh, yeah.
So that,
Well, I thought it was supposed to be a secret anyways. I didn't tell anybody.
It's,
Yeah.
well, it's supposed to be confidential, but
That don't mean nothing.
Yeah.
Well, apparently that's a good sign with this group then.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I got a call from a board member that said, so I hear y'all been meeting with Dr. Vickers. I was like, back up, let's, you know, we've talked, but we're not, I didn't just say, yes, he's coming to meet with our whole committee. Just left that part out, but I'm sure somebody will find out.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's,
go ahead.
and my board members have been in constant communication with me since I left. They think I'm interviewing.
Oh, okay, how much?
Yeah.
I
Let's
said,
discuss salary,
First of
come
all,
on.
interviewing is not something you'll see me doing. This is my 31st year in education. I love it. I have to always give thanks to Tuscaloosa County. They were very good to me and allowed me to be hired as principal at Crestmont. And I think I was one of 2 or 3 maybe that had been hired from the outside. So Dr. Hinton always told me that was an honor. So Dr. Hinton, when you hear that, it was an honor to be hired from the outside as principal. And I've been superintendent 14 years. This is my 8th year as superintendent of Alabaster City Schools. My first job was in Demopolis, where I learned from a very skilled individual, Dr. Wesley Hill, about the importance of the city school system and what it can mean to a city. And if you take the school system out of Demopolis, you have problems. The school system has been so great for that community and has meant so much. And it's been such a quality piece of what's kept Demopolis growing and moving and very different from other parts of that area and region. And I learned that from Dr. Hill because he said, hey, you've been in a county system, you've been in a large system like Birmingham, you're about to learn what it's really all about. So I was very thankful. We have been very fortunate, and the city of Alabaster broke away in 2013 from Shelby County Schools, which was considered one of the better county school systems. They were, when you look at all the lists, Shelby County was always included. But Thompson and the Thompson schools were not really and truly anything that you would want to be a part of. They were okay in certain things and not okay in other things. And the city of Alabaster felt like that they could best control the destiny of the students in their community. And they felt by the city council and mayor appointing a local board of education that would deal with just the city limits of Alabaster, that it would have a positive impact. Scott Brakefield, now is the current mayor,
Right.
was on the city council. Adam Mosley, who's on our board as board president, was on the city council, and they were the ones that pushed the city school system. I did bring, in case you all wanted a copy of the settlement agreement, which has to be worked out with a county school system. And
Okay.
it's been done all over. I also have Saralands, and I helped on about 4 others. I helped on Gulf Shores and some others with the mayor there.
Right.
So I have that, Mayor, if you wanted to get a copy of that.
Sure.
And also, one of my other board members, Dr. Myrick, did your study for you a few years ago. I don't know if any of you have ever seen this.
Yeah, we looked
But
I
it
sent
is,
them a copy,
yeah.
electronic copy.
It is very good. And Dr. Myrick is a 40-year veteran of the schools, was a former superintendent, a board member that helped start Saraland, and a board member that helped start Alabaster. So the person that did your study had actually done this on 2 other occasions. And I'll tell you about John Myrick. If it's not true, he will not put it in that book.
Right.
He is very legitimate. He is an individual that will certainly tell you what you need to know and what you need to know to make things happen if you would choose to do this.
Sure.
But thinking about Alabaster, and I had to bring I was asked by SSA to do the promises kept. So why don't y'all pass these around, just y'all look at. I didn't bring enough. I didn't know how many people.
We can
but
share.
if y'all can share and look around. But this is kind of tells the story. Thompson and the Thompson schools, and we have Meadowview and Creekview, 2 K3 schools. When we started, we had 6 schools. Wonderful people. I'm talking about when you meet the faculty and staff and you meet parents, just a wonderful community. But it kind of been left out when they built Oak Mountain and they did some other things. They just really didn't feel like they were getting their fair share. And when you look at the economics of it, we produce as much local revenue in Alabaster as Vestavia Hills. But do you think we were getting our fair share of those resources? And no, we were not. Everyone in the community agreed that we needed to take those resources and spend them on the 6,000 students who were in our city limits. So this tells our story. This is what I started off with, promises kept, and just a little bit about me, and I've already told you all that stuff. And our school community, we separated. We've had over 100 million in facility improvements.
Whoa.
$100 million in facility improvements since we started. We have high expectations on academics, athletics, and the arts. We truly believe that a local board of education makes all the difference. My individuals, Adam Mosley, Derek Henderson, Misty Johnson, Jamia Alexander Williams, and John Meyer all live in our community. There's not one thing they don't understand about what happens in our city. And that's valuable when you make decisions about how you spend funds. You're not having to cut deals with anyone to get enough votes to make things happen. And I've experienced that because I've been in the county before. You got to get 3 votes and you may not have the 2 on the board. So, that's something you don't have to worry about that. I will tell you, an elected board is not what I would recommend. Most of your successful city systems have an appointed board because then they can make decisions about what's best for the entire community. And you don't have to worry about pleasing a district or something like that. And if you don't believe that matters, look at the ones that have changed.
Who does the appointing
The mayor and council
for all the positions?
for all the positions. And it is very important. I will not work for an elected board. I will not interview. I will not talk to them. It has to be an appointed board. And anyone that tells you differently, you're going to have politics in your school board elections. And when you have politics in the elections, once you appoint the board member, they can make the decisions as best that they see fit for 5 years. And you have to make sure that you recruit good ones. And that's one thing I can say Alabaster, Saraland, and Demopolis did.
All right.
They were some of the finest people that you would ever have serving. And none of them would have ever run for the office. And that's important. But we have been very, very successful. Why did we start a new school system? And I think this is a quote that we put in there by John Rockefeller. If you want to succeed, strike out on UPass rather than travel to one pass to accept success. Otherwise, don't. How long has Tuscaloosa County Schools existed? Long time.
Long time.
And there's always been the question. I can remember when we were younger, the question was whether you're going to build a new county high and whether you're going to redo the old county high. That was the big question. But the people that made that decision didn't necessarily live in the city of Northport. And there's still hurt feelings. I can remember one very hurt feelings about the moving the county high and then tearing down the old one and all that stuff. That is very difficult. But it's not a difficult thing when it's a citizens of that city making that decision. It makes a big difference, and that's something that what they've done in the past. How do you want to shape the future? And that's something that we've been, 33,000 residents, 6,000 students. We promised a lot of stuff. When I got there, they told me, said, "Are you going to build a new high school?" And I said, "Yes, that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to build a new high school. We're going to do everything that I did in Saraland, but we're going to do it a little bit more intense because we were in the SEC West of athletics and we're in the Ivy League of academics. That's our region. I'm Mount Brook, Hoover, Spain Park, Vestavia, all of those individuals are those that we faced. But what we did is we made promises, but we created major change. And the passion I gave a speech, if you want it. Did you find it the other day?
No, I couldn't
You
find it.
you need to find it if anybody's got access to the internet. I gave a speech on a perfect storm to a group of realtors when I first got there. It's Perfect Storm. It's by David Black. And it was talking about the promises we make, things that we were going to do differently. We talked about our students deserving it. You know, our children deserving the best that we could give them. We implemented the things, and someone commented at SSA, said, you know, I watched that video and said, y'all done everything that you said you were going to do.
You did it on August 1st.
Yeah, that's August 1st of 2013. And that was kind of the beginning. But this 8 steps of change is something that I implemented slightly in Demopolis. Of course, you know, in Demopolis, they've been around since 1914, so changing that was a little difficult. But in Saraland, we implemented a lot of this, and it worked. And we poured our heart and soul into the students that we serve. And it made all the difference. Plus, y'all, the big factor, you've got, 7 schools in Northport right now?
There's 10 or 12.
10 and 11 with the new school.
11. And you would have the same number of students that we have when we serve with 5. You know, you start looking at things. We had 6 when we started, but we didn't need 6. So we've reduced it down now to 5. And I'll never forget when I first got there, I said, well, eventually we're going to get rid of this 6th grade center. So the only place that's ever done a 6th grade center has been the city of Tuscaloosa, and it was a disaster. And I said, so we're going to get away with that. Do away with it. Oh, no, we can't do that. We closed and no one ever said a word. I never got one email, one complaint. I sent out a couple of emails. Hey, y'all, we're going to transitions, put everyone at the middle school, eliminate all these different transitions from 5th grade to 6th grade, 6th grade to 7th grade. And the moms were like, thank you so much. We've been waiting for that time. Because they just wanted someone to say it was okay. Someone they believed in and trusted. So we did all of those things. But what kind of change do you want? You know, when you start looking at Alabaster, gosh, the first 2 years we were in existence, county outbeat us in everything. Everything. We were probably about equal with them academically. Since we started, the 8 years previous to Alabaster becoming a school system, we won 2 state championships in 8 years, 2 wrestling championships. We've been runner-up or state champion in 24 since the 8 years we've been in existence. 24 championships in runner-up. Yeah, we've been 2 since the last time we picked up a bowling that day, and then we were wrestling runner-up. The other day. So girls and boys. So it's actually 3 since then. But that's the success-free success. We were 0-10 my son's senior year at Thompson. We lost 10-0 up here at County. Matter of fact, that's the first time I met you. Lost 10-0. And Zach broke his leg. You know, the other thing is you hear us talk about names of kids. We know our kids. Even though there's 6,000 of them, we know our kids. Your principals know their kids. They live in our community. You know, that's the kind of thing that if you're going to be under a county system, you're not going to have the effect that you could have. When we started a school system, 51% of our kids went on to 4-year, 2-year technical school in military. Now 81% go to 4-year, 2-year technical and military. 81%. Our graduation rate was 89. Everybody's like, how are you going to beat that? Or 98. You know, it's going from good to great. And it's not just me. It is the community. When you talk about pride in our schools, they're there. When our cheerleaders have events, it's packed. We did the Go Warriors Win State, paint the town, red, black, and white, and everybody participated. First year, we didn't get a lot of participation because we didn't have anything to cheer about. But we are intense, and I'm really intense now. I hide it by being so pleasant and
I got you.
but I'm really intense, and I've always been intense. But this, what you are about to look at doing, may be the most important thing that ever happened to the citizens of Northport that are 15 or 16 years old and younger. You have an opportunity to impact the children that will eventually be taking care of all of us. Do you want to leave it up to cutting deals, trying to get a large board to take care of your city? Or do you think that you're capable, since you've managed this city for many years very successfully, that you could also appoint 5 quality people and take over the schools and do a quality job of taking care of the children in this community? And I will tell you, there's school systems around this state, if they can do it, what are y'all waiting on?
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I can list them all. Chickasaw, Opp. You know, all of these places have school systems that have operated them, and the people would have it no other way because their 5 local friends and colleagues are making the decisions about their children. That's powerful. You look, most government is best when it's controlled locally.
Mhm.
You talk to people about their local governments, 80, 90% of the poll says, oh, we love our local city council people. We love our mayor and our community. We love the decisions that are made by our planning and zoning board. They usually start talking when it gets to state and nationals when everything crashes. But people are usually very pleased with their local community government. That's important. There's some other things that I included on here about leadership. Y'all really want to show what we've done. When we started in 13, there was no true identity. There was none. It was a system of schools. Everybody had their own little island. The principal was the king. And everything that was done had to be done through the principal. So we went from 2013 from a system of schools to now we're a school system working toward goals. And you know, academically, the things that have changed are truly amazing. Talking about changing lives. When we took over, there were $3 million in scholarships at Thompson High School. $3 million. And everybody's like, oh, that's great. Well, this past year, we were 25.5 million. Talking
That's
about changing
phenomenal.
lives. And
That's
Pam,
phenomenal.
board made a decision. They hired Pam before they hired me. They hired her as college counselor and said, we want you, since you worked at the university, to connect the scholarships. And she's done that. And we lead the state in Questbridge scholarships, which are full rides for our most economically disadvantaged children. And these are Ivy League schools or places like the University of Chicago. And it does not cost them 1 penny to go.
And I don't know if y'all realize it, if you've had a kid there at County High, we do not have a college counselor. There are 3 counselors at County High that tend to all 1,200 kids. And they have all they can say grace over, but there is not a college counselor at County High.
And we have, right now, we have 5 counselors at Thompson High School. We have a career coach. We just posted a workforce development specialist that's going to help our students that are job focused. And
It's big here in Tuscaloosa for county.
yeah, and that's, you know, we're trying to make sure all those things. Yeah, and then we have an interventionist as well, which is a social worker at our school. And those are all locally funded things. We partner with group people, but we are trying to impact every child that walks in that door. You know, that's what the difference is. We're not playing school anymore. We are trying to educate every kid because our future depends on it. Every one of them that walks in is important. And we try to get them to connect to something. You know, not everybody gets up and goes to physics and just loves it. But we have kids in, we have one of the largest Air Force ROTC units in the state. We never have any trouble getting officers to fill those positions. We built career academies that did not exist. And these aren't just career academies, for like the old business marketing. We have that, but we also have health sciences, and we partner with our hospitals. We have probably one of the nicest health sciences labs you'll ever see. We have our own ambulance in there. We have all kinds of simulators and things. So it's nice, but it was driven by what our workforce development told us our students needed to be prepared for. We didn't have to work it out and do what would work on Oak Mountain, Pelham, Alabaster, and Helena. We were able to concentrate on our 6,000 residents, which we think was important. Those things are very valuable. Looking at our state report card, if you follow along the Alabama State Report, from 85 to 90, we were already pretty good at 85. That was, I didn't particularly like it because, I'm not a B person. But we moved to an A, and people said, oh, well, that's, you're Alabaster, you're wealthy, y'all got that huge promenade, and y'all got plenty of money. Now, come on, y'all, we haven't changed that much since 2013. We still have 41% poverty. 41%. 41% poverty. We're as diverse as any community you'll ever be in the United States. We have diversity. We are a cut of America. When you look at our schools, what you don't see when you walk in our schools is differences. Our kids love each other, work together. Our teachers and employees, especially those that we've hired, emphasize working together, taking a kid where they are and moving them forward. And that, you have to inspect what you expect. And that's what every principal we have works on. Our assistant principals, our counselors, is making sure that we get the most out of what we have. So every kid feels like they connect to us. And that's important. We'd have never been able to do that with the scores they used to do that. Rankings matter. You want to find out where you are, go to niche. It kind of really tells you where you are. And, as a district, I'm not happy with 14th, but my board members always remind me, remember where we started. We were not even really ranked in the top probably 40 or 50 anywhere. And we ended up 14th in the state this past niche ranking. So rankings matter. And if you don't think rankings matter, then you go talk to someone that has this number 14 or higher. And they'll explain to you real quick that where you are in the rankings. And it does matter. You don't think our kids are the ones that brought this to us and told us. The first time we ever saw a niche ranking. District of Distinctions is something we received for graduation rate. And our high school was ranked in the top 25 in U.S. News and World Report for the first time. Our high school turns 100 years old this coming October. So you can imagine how many years we did not have a ranking, and all these other schools did. So it's something we're talking to receive.
Top 25 in the country.
Yes, top 25 in Alabama.
Or in Alabama, got
Yeah, Alabama. Because you're not being ranked at all, being top 25 in Alabama, we felt pretty good.
That's all.
For high schools. And because high school is your most, and y'all know this, if you've got high school kids, high school is your most, because by the time they get to ninth grade, y'all, most of the hay's in the barn. And if you've not done your work K-8, you got a lot of work to do in your high school. And so that's why we emphasized K-8. We poured money into it. And people say, oh, y'all have a lot of money. No, we made choices about what we spent our money on. We looked at class sizes. We looked at making a difference by having an extra counselor at each school. We didn't just stop at the high school. We put extra ones at the elementary schools. We have a social work group. We have 2 social workers that work for us now. And we changed our student services operations person to she's a social worker too. So she's not your old principal. It's me. Your old assistant principal, the meanest person you got. She's your student services person. Well, we kind of changed that. And Ms. Tanner is more about trying to solve the problem before you have to expel them. Do you know how many students we've expelled in Alabaster in 8 years? How many expulsion hearings we've had? One. And we didn't even expel that kid.
Wow.
Wow.
If we're going to educate everyone, then we've got to solve problems and keep them engaged and in school. You're not solving the problem by expelling them for a year. What are they going to do? They're not going to go out and volunteer at church. You know, that's not, some of them will, but not all of them. So we've got to engage them and keep them going. That was a decision we made. My board was very supportive because they understood the problems and they were local people and they wanted to make a change. Do you ever think that Alabaster would be in the top 50 places to live in the nation?
No.
In 2013, I would have never believed it. When I bought my house in 2013 in Alabaster, and that's the other thing is when you're your own school system, you can demand the people that serve your kids live in your district. I don't hire many that don't live in our district. You know, I expect their kids to be enrolled. My two sons graduated Thompson. My son played on a football team at Thompson, was 0-10. His buddies in Saraland that he left played for the state championship that year. You know, so I know sacrifice. You make sacrifices if you believe in what you're doing. And it's important. But this came about because schools was like 30% of this grade that they got. And the person that sent that to me was our mayor. Said, wow, said, you know, wouldn't have gotten there without being, you know, a city school system. Music education, the arts are important. You know, we built a 1,008-seat performing arts center at our high school. We have a 650-seat performing arts center at our middle school.
We've been waiting on an auditorium since
Sin.
2001 when I graduated.
Well, that's the important piece of it. If you're not going to leave anyone out, everyone has to be important. That group of students that are performing on the one-act plays, Miss Gainey, is just as important as the football team having a great place to play. It's just as important. You know, how many gyms does County High have?
One or two, I mean, it's one big one.
One big one that can be two gyms.
Mhm.
Well, when we built ours, you know, the 7A world we're in, we have an arena that seats 2,000. That has 3 volleyball courts in it and 2 gym courts in it. We also have an aux gym that seats 1,000. We're building a 3rd gym. Because my volleyball program, we hired Judy Green, who retired from Alabama, as head coach, as our volleyball coach, and we've got 100 and something girls in volleyball right now. So we got a freshman team, a JV team, a varsity team. We've got an 8th grade team, a 7th grade team, but everybody matters. It's a theme. Everybody matters. And if it doesn't, if only one thing, if you're only going to be good at one thing, you're going to lose big time. Talk to Hoover High School right now. You're only good at 1 or 2 things. You have to play catch up. And we made a pledge as superintendent and board and community that we were going to care about everything. And we're going to make a difference in the lives of the students that we serve. So what about academics? Y'all, it's tough with academics. You know, we've got 41% poverty. We've got tremendous diversity across our district. But guess what? We made improvements. It was hard. It was difficult. We made improvements. ACT Aspire, one of the most difficult assessments that I've ever had to put kids through. I'm so glad it's gone, but we used it. We didn't make it an excuse. We tried to grow. Our Scantron results, still not happy about those. You know, that ended in 19 with the latest score we had. We dropped in reading, but we had made an implementation of a new program. And I told everyone, I said, hey, be prepared. The implementing new programs, you're going to have implementation gap. I'll see a little difference, and that's okay. Because by then, we'd already made so many other gains, everyone expected it. Thank you. Graduation rate. So proud of that. Yeah, graduation rate. That is important, you know, when you get to the grad rate. Thank you for the water.
You're welcome.
Now, look, y'all,
I can talk all night.
that's what Pam said. That could see.
And she knows it. And, but the grad rate, when you look at the growth there, that was difficult because you're going from a really good grad rate to an outstanding grad rate. That's what we got district of distinction for.
This young man here was one of our Questbridge students. He is a junior at the University of Chicago. now
Oh, wow.
and no charge, no
not paying one
expenses,
dime.
as a stipend to live off of. Because if you're in poverty, getting scholarship, tuition, room and board, you still got to live.
Right.
You know, and that's the beauty of Questbridge. Questbridge came to Thompson High School. Questbridge came and hosted an event at our high school, our performing arts center. They
Because
said,
we asked them.
Yeah.
And they said yes.
they said, yeah, oh, sure, y'all one of our top groups. We'll certainly come there.
Pam, explain just briefly what
Yeah.
Questbridge is.
Questbridge is it's a partnership. I think there are like 41 partner schools now. They're all Ivy League, Vanderbilt, University of Chicago, USC, Pepperdine, Harvard, Yale, Emory, those kinds of schools. Students go in, they are underserved students, but high academics, your top kids. They go in and they apply for a program. There's a prep scholar, so there's a junior version when you're a junior that kind of gets you ready for the real application, gives you some summer experiences where you go to some summer camps at places like Tufts University and so forth, where you can go and kind of learn the ropes, and then you apply. There's a multi-step process. If you're selected, there's like a semi-finalist, sort of like national merit. And then if you are selected, you rank the colleges that you want, of the partner schools, you rank them, and they rank you. And if you are a match, then you're a match. Alex was a match for the University of Chicago. If you don't match with your school, you kind of go to a second round. You know, it's not a guarantee that you're going to be a finalist, but if you're not, they work with you with those other remaining schools and try to partner you with something. That young man, single mom, working, mom worked in for a little company doing some housekeeping. No dad in the picture. He's set, and
You get a degree from the University of Chicago, you have changed an entire family's perspective on
trajectory.
everything.
Yes.
You made, and that's what it's all about. If you want to impact and change lives, my question is, do you want it bad enough to change the lives of the students that are in this community?
And that kid has our cell phone numbers right now. When he's home, he wants to see us. That's what it's all about. It's about making those connections with those kids, and his life is forever changed.
And we have a couple at Harvard.
Yeah.
And, it is wonderful when they invite us to Yale to come up to one of their conferences. And, that puts your school system on the map with some of the best in the nation when you're listed in that group. So, that's something to be proud of. But I will tell you, we had a lot of work to do. When I'm telling you, I didn't have any gray hair, I mean, I didn't have any gray hair. Don't get confused that this was easy. Because the first 2 years in my household, my wife and 2 sons says, what in the world were you thinking? So it's not always easy. It was hard work, but it was worth it. Now my sons are proud to wear their Thompson gear right here at the University of Alabama. Will, my youngest, is on a presidential scholarship here at the university. And I give credit to a lot that happened at Thompson Middle School and Thompson High School got him that scholarship. He's a hard worker too, but they prepared him. They loved him. They cared about him. And it wasn't because he was the superintendent's son. That had nothing to do with it. They cared about him. Wasn't a great test taker, but was very bright. And you all can name people that fit that category. And how many of them do you know they don't get the right connection can get a presidential scholarship? And that's, so our ACT scores have gone up. That was a priority of ours because ACT, as you know, the state thinks that's the end all be all.
I have a question
Yes,
real
ma'am.
quick.
Sure.
We might get to it.
Yeah.
So just tell me.
Yeah.
But, you're saying like the students will invite you to come and see them at Yale, or the student at University of Chicago and stuff like that. And I don't think our students even know our superintendent's name. I don't think most parents know. our superintendent's name. We have a new one, but even before that, I definitely don't think that they knew. So I guess one of my big things, and I know there's a lot of info, but I mean, you're probably going to not take credit for this, but it kind of seems like might be you or y'all that is, I'm just saying that's leading it because we know it falls from above. Yeah, because literally you're saying all this and it's like gets me super excited and I think it would be amazing. But in my mind, I'm thinking, who in the world would anyone would be able to do that here?
Well, I will tell you, there's a lot more people like me than you think. A lot more people like Pam than you think. But I grew up in a blue collar home. Grew up in Fultondale, Alabama, right outside of Jefferson County. And I can remember the struggles. My father had 3 in college at one time. So I went the junior college route. I had to do that. I had a tennis scholarship. He said, son, if you got your tuition paid, you got to do it. I had to make choices to get my education. And our goal is that we want our students not to have to make choices out of necessity, to make choices out of what they're trained and they think they want to do. So there's a lot more people than you think. It is hard work. I've always been this way, even as principal. I was this way. I go to everything. I'm missing the soccer event tonight and a tennis event. So I usually go to everything, even just for a few minutes. Pam goes to so many things. Yes, we're different. When we had one of our students, Melvin, he was here before Mark Freeman was hired, and we finally got him a scholarship to Mississippi Valley State on a football scholarship. One of the most wonderful kids you'll ever meet in your life. Yeah, he called me and my wife when he was there that weekend. They shut down the cafeteria, and he was there and didn't have any money. His mother had done all she could do. Yeah, he called us. And sure, we sent him money. And they said, well, I can't believe you did that. I said, well, I can't believe you wouldn't do that.
Right.
The kid, I trust with my car. And it is a passion. But the great thing about it is you all can ensure that the 5 people that hire the superintendent, that hire the principals, that hire the counselors, have that same passion. And, the first interview I went through at Saraland was, 3 hours long? And, and that board wanted to make sure that it wasn't just a show. And I can call any of the 5 right now. And they'd do anything in the world for me because they know I love their kids. And they also hired her before they hired me.
So she got you in the door.
Yeah, she did. She but also we grew up this way. But do you think you have a better chance of hiring someone that would have that heartbeat for the students if you all got to select the individuals that make that decision and hold them accountable? There's a much better chance that you're going to find that right person that's going to have that wildcat pride, that can do what they need to do. And sure, I will tell you this: I don't hire any loafers. People that I demand excellence, I demand them to be there. I missed a lot of events for my kids, going to other kids' events. Now that my son's a teacher in Jefferson County, he gets it. He understands why I did that.
And he also sees the difference in the county.
And he understands the difference in resources. Now, I will tell you, I do not run a school system as a bank, and you don't want your school system to be a bank. You don't, I hear them all the time. Oh, we've got 6 months in reserve. Well, what did you not do for the students in your community? You got that much in reserve, then you need to give some money back to the taxpayers. We keep about 2 months in reserve, and you'll never see me keep 1 dime more. We're not a bank. You're not going to walk through my parking lot and fall down because there's a hole. You're not going to go up and see grass up over the signs. I've got a board president that feels the same way. Adam and I are very similar in that he he likes that kind of attention to detail. So it doesn't have to be someone with my personality. That's not the key. But having a board that has that expectation that the mayor and council can say, hey, the lights are not working in the parking lot. And instead of being, well, that's maintenance, whatever, they're like, hey, we'll get taken care of. I love it when I have people send me stuff and say, hey, Wayne, the sign out front, it needs some landscaping. I don't know if you've been by there. And I'm like, yeah, I noticed it the other day, but we're going to get on it real quick. I love it. The more eyes I've got, better we are. And, that attention to detail. So it is easy. Dr. Hill did not have my personality. He did not talk a lot. Wesley was, I don't have that problem, but Dr. Hill, he didn't talk a lot. But his intent and his work was just as good. He had attention to detail. He had follow through. He hired great people. That's why that community has thrived all these years. I have a lot of respect for it. He played a lot of golf late in his life, but he's like me. I don't hire golfers. I don't play a lot of golf. And anybody that works for me is not going to play a lot either. That's just how it is. If you're good at your golf game, you can't work for me. And that's, some people don't want it that bad. When we came in, we had never beaten Hoover High School in football. We were 0-20. We've beaten them 5 out of the last 6 times. And played for the state championship for 3 of the past 4 years.
And for community buy-in and pride, that matters.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to ask about the community involvement. That's pretty much all I know from my school system. We're a very small rural town, but the school is the community.
You're
And
right.
the people, they buy in. You see parents out there volunteering and doing what it takes. You were talking about the sign, and I don't even know if it has to get to the school board. And the school board probably has some people in the community that could call up and say, hey, we need some help with the sign for the baseball field or whatever. And the parents are there. What can you say about the community?
Involvement.
Yeah.
We do our surveys. When I first got there, we had to beg people, please do surveys, please get them turned in. Last year, we had 3,000 surveys on the first time we sent out, and they were all glowing. And so our parental involvement is amazing. We pack everything that we do. Parents are there. Now, they don't have to go to the board and carry on because the board's doing their business. People get confused sometimes because like Winfield probably had very few people at the board meeting, but when the schools opened up, they were packed. And that's where the community involvement needs to be. And if we're doing our job as a school board and a superintendent, then we don't have people coming to the board meeting carrying on because they know it's going to be taken care of. They send us an email, hey, Wayne, don't forget to look at, to recognize such and such. I just want to make sure they get notified. I love that. So yes, community involvement right now, community pride, you know it because you lived it in the field. When there's a ball game on Friday night, where was everybody at? When there was a performance or something at the high school, where was everybody at? When there was a beauty pageant, where was everybody at? They went. That's the buy-in that you get. Northport's a large city, but it's not any larger than Alabaster. If Saraland can operate a school system on a half a penny and build a new high school and compete academically in the top 5 in the state when we left, it's almost like if they can do it, their business development and stuff came later. Their Cracker Barrel Hospital and all that came later. Northport's already got it. You guys have done an amazing job keeping this city where it can do this. Now, you're going to have to dedicate resources. That is expected in our community. They put on a penny. The city council did it. In Saraland, they didn't put on a penny. Saraland, they did a half a penny. And we accomplished just as much in Saraland in the 4 years I was there as we did. Well, every building, we either had new or newly renovated Every piece of furniture, everything there when I left was new or newly renovated.
What about property taxes?
Our property taxes in Saraland was about 18 mills, which is higher. I know right now Tuscaloosa County is 10 mills. Saraland, after we had accomplished everything, when I left, we had about a 2-year plan after that they were going to go to get a property tax increase. It was approved with 70% of the vote. But we had, what was it, 7 years of results before they had to do that. And they got all of that work done off a half a penny. 7.5 mil increase was only because they wanted to do more.
Ours are so low too.
Yeah, your property taxes are matter of fact, we talked about on the way up here, that when we lived in the place, property tax was $500 a year. That sounds great and wonderful, but
It's not.
that isn't anything to brag about. And if my memory serves me right, Dr. Hinton would know this, the last time that there was a property tax increase referendum in Tuscaloosa County, the city of Northport approved the property tax. The rural areas voted it down.
Mhm. It was in 93, I think.
And I know it broke Joyce Seller's heart because she had won Northport, which was, and that was Pam's, assistant principal and debate, Scholars Bowl coach and everything else.
But
So-
our demographics have changed so much since then. I mean, but they also haven't brought it up for a vote again in 20 years. So
Well, and technically, my philosophy on that is you can do what you need to do with a half penny.
Mhm.
You could do what you need to do. If Saraland can do it, built a new high school, built a new elementary school, renovated the middle school, built a new stadium, new baseball, softball stadium, new football stadium, and we went to the top 5 in the state academically. It wasn't hard to sell a property tax. We could have asked the community for anything we wanted to at that point because we had results. You have to show those results. Right now, we have a penny and Alabaster's a little bit different. The city put a penny on for education. We have a share of the half penny countywide. You also have a share of the countywide tax that is on the county commission. You can use 20% of that for operations based on the last amendment to that. So you have plenty of resources. The decision that people have to make locally is, will your colleagues and church members and people in your neighborhoods be better individuals to allocate the resources that you all generate right here in Northport? And that answer is yes, and you feel strongly about it, then you have to take a leap of faith. And Alabaster did, and if you that you've done something when the people that were against it when you got there think it's their idea now.
That was my question, rather than follow up, did you find any pushback or, opposition when you started it? Where did it came from?
Where our high school was almost 92 years old then, and our schools have been around a long time. People get real comfortable. In Shelby County, we could go on about our business and be average, and we pull that big Shelby County blanket over us, and we were good, but we weren't good. We were below average. And we had a lot of people that didn't like it. They didn't really care if we were winning or not. They didn't care if students got scholarships. They liked things the way they were. But if you're going to have an omelet, you got to crack a few eggs. And the people that we wanted to serve didn't vote. They were 16 years old and younger. And now those same individuals that were against us are hugging my neck after the state championship, sending me all these, love notes and all that, and our coach and all that. Because, when Coach Freeman came in, we were 0-10. People were, oh, sure. I don't make decisions based on whether it's going to make me popular or whether it makes people happy. If you want to make people happy, open up the ice cream shop. You know, my
It's too good,
business
make
is
them
to
happy.
run the school system and
Ice
do
cream
it
big
well.
milk.
But I will tell you, when you start having success, you have a parent stand up. I just want to thank the school board for helping us get our band uniforms. We've been trying to raise money for 9 years. And the city school board made a decision to do that. Boom. You get them, parents, grandparents, everybody. Like, you know what? We've raised our part. Look what they did for us. That didn't cost a lot of money. It was almost a no-brainer. It was one of the first things that I did. The superintendent said, why are we going, you know, they've raised half of it. Let's do it. And Mr. Bubbett, our band director, been band director, what, 30 years, said, are you kidding me? You're actually going, yeah, we're going to put it on the agenda. With the board, I'm going to call every one of them today. We're going to get this done. And you're talking about turning a group to where you have 200 band members thrilled out of their mind in new uniforms. They've not had to raise money for instruments. Every year, I buy a lot of football helmets, but I buy $30,000, $40,000 worth of band instruments. I'm not going to have a kid not be able to participate and play a sousaphone because it costs $3,000. We're going to have that instrument. But that's the kind of commitment that can be made. And those things are not that, it's not expensive in a budget that we have. You know, it's still very small. But when you start looking at one of the other things, our college career ready standards, you know, we wanted them to match our grad rate. Why have people graduating, you know, and then they were not college career ready? They didn't have a credential that meant that they were ready to move on to something else. So that was something we were very pleased about. AP and dual enrollment. We didn't have dual enrollment. I know you have dual enrollment at County High.
Yes. we do.
And you have dual enrollment and you have AP. But right now, we have over 609 students at our high school in receiving dual enrollment. 609 of our 2,000 students at high school are receiving dual enrollment credit. And you know, that's big. My son has a year left on his scholarship because he came in as a sophomore. You know, that connection, that means something. And I don't know if you've ever sat through an AP test, but you know, that's a one shot at getting credit. Most of our students are not built to produce in a 3-hour exam.
Mhm.
And I've told AP and them, I said, hey, dual enrollment's going to put you out of business. I'm going to put my money with the kid being able to take the course all year and get that credit through a junior college, which will transfer anywhere in Alabama. Anywhere in Alabama and most other places. Because Pam's our dual enrollment coordinator too. We did not have a dual enrollment class when we started in 2013. I had to beg our principal. Had to beg it. Former principal, yeah. Former.
You have to beg and let him go. I know what it was.
Sorry, what year did y'all get there? 13. I was looking at this, there was a big debate about coaching supplements a few months ago. And I was looking at Shelby County schools and when y'all became Alabaster City schools, and one of the things that I had read was that in the first 3 months of 2015, the 376 total permits valued at 17.5 million versus 192 valued at 5.7 million the previous year. I mean, that's just economic impact right there.
You cannot, I can sell my house right now in Alabaster, Alabama, that had been on the market when we bought it. It was the UAB's basketball coach. We bought that house in Alabaster. I live where I'm superintendent. And we've had many debates over this, but I'm going to drive up in my garage in the same community that I get my paycheck. I'm a firm believer, don't ever hire anybody trying to live in your community. Don't you ever do it. That does not work and it will not pay off. But we could sell our house and probably make $150,000 profit.
And we better be ready to move.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they
Yeah.
tell us when they call us. Hey, we've got somebody who wants to look at your house. We got somebody who wants to look at your house. And if I say, hey, we're not selling, we're not retiring yet. You know what? You know that's not what we're planning to do. But then we had an assistant principal that tried to buy a house. He was 4 houses. He put offers in, and finally he had to put an offer in like at $20,000 over asking price, and he barely got it.
And none of those homes were on the market yet. They were
Yeah.
coming soon,
Yeah, coming soon.
but they were already gone by the time he looked at it.
And housing in our community right now, and some people say, well, y'all are the new Hoover. No, we're not. We're not. Hoover is a different world. You know, when they've got Spain Park and Greystone, you're talking about 80, 90,000 people. Our goal is to be the best Alabaster that we can be. And by doing that, right now, when we got there, there were all these empty lots in our neighborhood. They all have houses on them now. 2 houses sold at the end of the cul-de-sac. And I thought, they'll never buy a house there. They won't build. And they were sold before the guy even put the sign in the lot. Sold, pre-built. And we do have people moving in. You know, we get people moving in from IMG, from the best band student from another district that doesn't support the program. We get the cream of the crop. And we also do not do out of zone students right now. I did that in Saraland. I don't have to here because there's an inherent value for people living in our community.
That was another question I was going to ask is, I don't know if you've looked at the zoning map in Northport, but it's like my Kennedy, my 6-year-old colored. She's actually a pretty good colorer, so she'll probably be better. But how did you, or I don't know if you've been in a community like that, but literally half of Midley Road is zone county and the other half is city. Is that just, do you have like a, hey, anybody want to annex in? You can come, but if not.
If you're in the city limits of Alabaster, you can, well, when I got there, my uncle owned a house in a part of unincorporated Alabaster. They were going to give us the relative price, you know, that, hey, you know, the discount. You know, y'all get this, it's beautiful on the lake. Well, that was not in the community. So, you know, and they said, oh, they'll never vote to come in. They've never wanted to vote to come into Alabaster. Well, so I passed on the house, and what 85% of the vote, they came in to the city limits of Alabaster, and Alabaster gave them nothing. Like, hey, your roads are your roads. You know, the deal's off. We tried to get you off a few years ago. Now everybody wants to come in, so you just have to take what you can get. And that annexation, if they, you know, if it's legal annexation, we've had plenty of those. If they're our zones, we're going to have to look at, because right now we have Creekview and Meadowview K3. We're moving to eliminate the intermediate school and have 3 K5 schools over the next couple of years. And you're right, our zones were done at the county office. So there wasn't a lot of input or discussion about, so, you know, we're zoned. We thought we would be zoned to Meadowview, but when you look at our little section is zoned to Creekview, which is a little bit further away. So it doesn't make any sense. So you're not alone in that, because counties make decisions not based on city limits. They make decisions based on county students along with the city. So it's a little bit more difficult. But we have a chance in the next couple of years to have 3 K5s with equal facilities so that no one can complain and make it easier to get to and from school.
We had some transition. I was going to say, how did y'all transition? Explain how y'all transition.
And the transitions we have, and I've got that settlement agreement. Yeah, that y'all want y'all to make a copy.
Okay, I'll go get a copy this second.
We had 700 county students that were allowed to continue to be enrolled in our district. And we had 5 years that they could go out. Well, the scary part, or 6 years, is that all 700 of those have been transitioned out. And we're still where we are right now on enrollment. So we moved 700 county kids out, and we're still in enrollment.
Well, because County High right now, if they have 560 students that do not live in the city limits. So if that would take them down to 1,090 students, which would take them to a 6A.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if you think like Mountain Brook, they were thrilled to get to 6A. Because it is just really and truly 6A is probably just as competitive. Homewood, has stayed around 6A on purpose. Pelham went to 6A, that they've stayed kind of right in the area. There's always an inherent value for those individuals to now annex into the city limits of Norfolk, if they can.
Well, you're gonna see if the talks flourish about us having our own school system, you're gonna see we've got so many pockets right now, pockets filling in. We've got people who would annex in. We've got whole subdivisions that would annex in. If we have a 5-year period or 6-year period, as you're talking, and get these things, I don't think we're gonna have any problem maintaining a 7A level. I don't think. But if we didn't, it wouldn't be but just for a short period of time.
You wouldn't stay down. The thing that I would encourage you, because this helped us, is our high school kids. If you were a 8th grade rising freshman all the way through high school, those kids got to stay. And we would put them in the agreement that they could stay with us.
Right.
And that helped us because, you don't want someone that's made majorette or in the band or in the football. You don't want them to not be able to continue that and have to be zoned out somewhere. And we found that most of ours stayed with us, that group. But the rest are elementary. There were some parts of the community that couldn't annex in because their zoning was not up to par and other things. And the city did a really good job of explaining that. And I know Northport would probably do the same. That hey, you got to come up to code. We can't do this if you're not up to code. And that affected a few areas. But then again, some of the areas did it. And there are people that own some apartments in other areas got in, did what they needed to do. And, we welcomed everyone to be a part of our school system. But there has to be an inherent value to living in the city. If city individuals are paying taxes and it's going to your school district, then you can't just charge people to come in. You set up a plan, and right now, all those little areas you're talking about are all in the city limits right now. That people have just, hey, even some of them have done it a house at a time. So-and-so had to do it. They did it. Now I can do it. And my neighbor beside me can do it. And so that was the first 5 years. You just had 20 or 30 of those on every city council meeting,
right,
where they were approving those annexations.
And right now, also, we've got so much residential growth. I know where I live up at Archwood subdivision off of Barnes Summit Road, right across the street. They're looking at 100 new homes between me and Martin Road, starting out at 260,000 up to 310,000. We're starting to have about 100 new homes right there. They would be inside city limits. I know Bristol Park, Forest
Grand Point's
Glen.
got a huge section they're rebuilding.
I mean, and the townhomes that are coming. I mean, we're going to have students. I don't see us dropping down below 7A.
Really and truly, if y'all got the growth that I've seen in Northport over the years, the big thing is you want to compete at 7A because, first of all, County High is County High. It's the largest school in this area. So you want to maintain that. But I do agree with the mayor that it would be a temporary thing. We started off with 1,750 students in our high school. We have 2,000 right now. And most of our growth comes in at about 6th grade. But you all have an advantage.
Yep.
You have an advantage because your reputation of your elementary schools is really good.
Oh, yeah.
You've got, legends that were at Northport Elementary, Huntington Place, that have done some legendary, and Crestmont. You look at, I think, is Lucretia still the
She
principal
is.
there?
Prince,
Yeah,
Dr. Prince.
yes. And, she was there, and she was there as a teacher, I think, when I was there as principal. So you see the academic piece of it. We were not where we needed to be elementary wise when we started. Now we compete with River Chase Elementary, Bluff Park Elementary, And our parents feel like we're doing just as good or better than most. Your bigger question is middle school and high school. You know, how do you compete academically there? And it's going to take financial resources. But I think, as I explained, if Saraland can do it on a half penny, and we competed with UMS Wright, St. Paul's, and McGill Tootle. That was who we competed. Yeah, and it was tough. And we lost a lot of people early, but we don't lose very many down there anymore. All of our kids stay at home. And that's what you'll see. You'll also get some private school kids. You know, we had a Kingwood Christian school been in existence since 1970, shut down. Guess where all those kids went? They're at Thompson High School, Thompson Middle School. You have a lot of resources. And you also can do some things like Saraland did. You can make people interview for their jobs. You know, we didn't do that in Alabaster. We didn't have to. They kind of knew what I was going to do when I got there. You know, I have one principal that's still in the same spot than when I got there.
That was one thing in that study that it said, the recommendation was that you allow teachers to keep their tenure.
Yeah, that
You
was
can
another question
allow
I
them to
had.
keep their tenure. It avoids a lot of issues. But one of the things is, if I'm going to accept someone, I'm still going to interview them. I'm still going to interview them. How many did I interview that first year at Saraland? I think I hired 80% of the people because the county has to let them stay. They have to
Right,
find
they
them a
can find a
place.
spot.
They have to find them a spot if they don't want to come. And so I want to make sure that they really didn't want to work, that they decided to stay. And that's just according to who you all get and the work ethic that they have. You know, I have one principal left that started with me. And I don't say that in a negative way, but
Did you hire the teachers as well, Dr. Vickers? Did you?
well, in Alabaster, you know, we had to keep, but we've had a lot of change over the past 3 years. Because, and we have some of them that have been there 30 years and are loving and thriving, you know, that are just loving. And that's what I will tell you, that if someone is really good, they're going to be even better in a city school system. They're going to have more opportunity, more PD, more flexibility to do things. In a county system, it's easy to settle. Yeah, and you just
Mediocrity.
Yeah.
is best.
And I don't mean that negative, because I didn't feel that way when I was part of Tuscaloosa County. You know, I and out of respect for Dr. Hinton, you know, the last thing I wanted was Joyce Sellers to come in my office and see me resting. And of course, you had Dr. Hinton, Dr. Costanza, and Dr. Burke, and then Dr. Sellers. And I think I interviewed 22 times before they finally hired me. But I also learned a lot when I left. I left Tuscaloosa County and went to Demopolis, and I had no idea the reason Demopolis had a strong band. I had no idea why they had soccer and tennis, why they had tennis courts. They did it because Dr. Hill wanted every kid to connect to something. And so, you know, you don't have to accept it. It's easier in negotiating if you accept it, because if you have a quality principal there that's got the support of their board and their superintendent, those that don't want to work find something else to do. Yeah. It's easier to go somewhere else.
We actually have, most of our schools have really good principals.
You have really good principals, and you probably have some really, really good teachers. And what they might not have is tremendous resources.
They don't.
And the drive. You know, somebody has got to be the visionary leader, and you've got to push. And it's not easy. It's been easier for me to just sit back, and a lot easier on our family to sit back. I've never been one to sit back, and my principals know that. I provide every one of them a cell phone, and the rule is that when I call, they answer. And when they call me, I answer. I have to step out of church or step out of wherever I'm at, that connection, they feel comfortable talking to me.
What about Title I schools and how does that work with you guys? Because I know that's an issue with us at Northport and Huntington because we're not Title I. So our teachers literally don't even have a printer in their rooms.
Right.
And if they have one, it's because they bought it themselves.
Right.
But then you go to Crestmont and every teacher has all the stuff.
I know.
So it's.
Well,
how
they
do you
didn't
work?
always, because when I first got there as principal, all the Title I money was in personnel. And I'm thinking, how can we have all these, we had 3 secretaries and we had all these other positions. And I'm like, hey, we only got 1 phone. We didn't have a computer lab. You have to make decisions. One thing we did is we had 1 school that was Title I when we started. Right now, though, Creekview and TIS also qualify. So they are school-wide programs right now. So all 3 of our schools, 2K3 and 145, receive title funds. So they're able to buy computers and other things. But I will tell you that if you all commit to a half a penny for your school district, and it takes it takes 18 months to 2 years to really work out all the details, and you bank that half penny, then you're going to have a lot of opportunity to do some things. I just bought, about $1.5 million worth of Chromebooks. We're going 1-to-1. Every kid by probably the end of this month will have a Chromebook, every kid. Our teachers all have laptops that want them. They have new desktops, they have printers. And, my son had to wait for his funds to come in his county, and he had to buy his own printer.
Mhm.
He's not had a printer all year. Has to print down to, down the hall.
Yep.
So I understand what you're saying. You're not going to be able to make a school that doesn't qualify. But what we do is we take care of like middle school and high school with local funds. And then we have title funds. And as long as everyone is winning, nobody cares.
Right.
That working together. Like, hey, this year, middle school's getting this, we're going to upgrade their computers at their school. But hey, Creekview and Meadowview had title money and they were able to do it. So we got those for next year. We're doing this. As long as you have a plan and people believe you.
So you
Because-
supplement the schools that are not title
Yeah.
funded. So
And
everybody has the same.
that you walk into the high school that has 0 title funding right now, and it has, well, it's probably as nice as any building you'll ever be in.
Yeah.
It is amazing. And you go into our middle school right now, which was the old high school, looks so much better than it did when my son was there, when he was in high school. But it has, new computers, we did all the stuff that's not pretty, don't cut a ribbon when you put Wi-Fi in.
We didn't have Wi-Fi
Oh,
in
yeah, I
some of
know.
the schools. when we got
3
there.
of our schools didn't have it. The 3 that had it, parents did. And it was a hope and a prayer. And you're talking about the wealthiest city in Shelby County. And so we got there, I had to spend a lot of money, but we were grateful. We had it. I wasn't going to bank it and brag about having $50 million in the
Mhm.
bank, and my teachers are out trying to raise money to copy stuff. Our goal, we pay every teacher a bonus. We've been doing it since 2013. We pay them this year, we paid every teacher a $750 bonus, and every classified employee a half of that. And
How does the teacher pay compare to Shelby County schools?
Shelby County schools, we took their salary schedule, and which is already above the state matrix. And we have probably 50 to 60 applications for every job that we open. We don't lose a lot of people unless we want to.
What about buses?
Buses, we operate 76 buses. I will tell you that that is one area that I will tell you that there's one person, I'll give you the name if you ever start negotiating, it's going to go check every bus that you get, because everywhere I've been in, they try to get you where you lose all of your fleet renewal money at one time. But right now, half of our fleet is air conditioned.
But did y'all have to buy those?
We did not have to buy them. We had so many buses that were allotted to us.
I got you.
They had to be operational. And in here, all that's covered. They have to give you the schools that are in your city limits. Of course, we did not get SCISI, which was the Instructional Services Center, because it was not a school at the time.
It's the old Thompson Middle.
The old Thompson Middle School back from the 70s. And
So if the bus transportation department lies within the city limits of Northport, they don't have to give us that. They just have to give us the schools,
schools that are occupied,
schools that are occupied.
unless they used money or had an agreement with the city of Northport on the land or the facilities. And that's something y'all would have to look at. SCISI, they have to give us, not give it to us, but they have to sell it to us if they ever abandon it.
Is that your special education?
That is it's Shelby County Instructional Services Center. It's where they run their curriculum, all that. Of course, what I love is they have all their PE there. So every month they have 300 or 400 teachers and they all eat in Alabaster. So, I kind of look at it as, it's economic development. Plus they shop in Alabaster and they, so I thought, wow, and finally they did some upgrades on it. So when it ever comes available, the only reason I would even look at taking that first dibs on it is to turn it over to my city because it's prime economic development area right there off the interstate.
What was the biggest challenge as far as the agreement?
The agreement is hiring the toughest attorneys that you can hire. And there's 3 or 4 names I'd give you. The ones we work with, Whit Colvin and his group are outstanding. You do not want, it's like a bad divorce. Everybody's going to be mad and they're going to be ugly. And I had to be on the phone all hours of the night negotiating, career tech stuff, other things. But I will tell you, in the end, now I talk to the superintendent of Shelby County just about every other day. So once the divorce is over, then you have to start thinking about how you work together.
What were the biggest things the challenges that you had to overcome with the agreement, with the divorce settlement agreement?
Rumors.
Really?
Rumors. Somebody had whispered to the bus drivers, "Oh, y'all not going to have buses." Or somebody had whispered to the parent, "They're going to let go of all y'all paraprofessionals." And then, you have a board meeting with,
5 million people that show up
swallowing
that
and
never
carrying
did.
on. And you're like, hey, we're going to have to do the same thing that you did before.
Right.
And, we heard that y'all aren't going to be able to pay us for the first 3 months. The rumors. And then you're not going to, if you want to do it, you can't expect for there not to be some hurt feelings.
Right. No, there should
And,
be.
we had attorneys that the Saraland Mobile was a battle. It was a war because that was the first one that had ever left Mobile County. They had a lot of other dominoes to fall after that. They lost Chickasaw, they lost Satsuma, and they're probably going to lose a couple more before it's over with. And the one here was a little bit more quiet. Shelby County had kind of given the idea that they really wasn't going to miss Alabaster much.
I feel like that'll happen here.
They're not going, and you almost want that. You want it, and you might not want this to be out in public, but you probably, if you think you're going to go in and be friends immediately, that's not going to happen. You have to have the vision that you want the agreement and you want it settled. And I will tell you, I had this same conversation with people in another district that was not successful because they went on and did their own thing. In the settlement agreement, you have to have, if you're under any kind of court order or whatever, like we were in Mobile, you get with the Department of Justice and OCR and you get a pre-clearance letter.
Right.
You get a pre-clearance and get them in the discussion. You talk about it. And they see you're going to take care of all kids and you love all kids, they're good. That's what they want to see.
Who made who made those decisions? Like, who, we have, this is right now, this is our committee about talking about a school system. Who comes in and requests the letters from the OCR, the letters of clearance? Where does that come through?
The first step that this committee would present to the city council and the mayor is a suggestion to appoint a school board. Or to appoint a committee to look into this, small committee. Small committee. You need to, you have your votes counted before you put that committee together. Because you're gonna have some people that are gonna be against it until you win your first championship somewhere, and then they're all over it. And those kind of people are never going, that, it doesn't matter. Think of the kids that you're trying to serve. You have that, that's what Alabaster did, had a committee that studied it for a few months, updated their feasibility study, got the current information, because yours is a little bit old. Then the city council made the decision at the request of the mayor in Alabaster. They didn't go to no vote or nothing. They voted on it in the city council meeting and appointed board members, and that's the end of it. And it was all over but the crying. And there were people that cried and carried on about it and did all that. But y'all, like I said, Baskin Robbins, if that's what you want to do, then you open Baskin Robbins up. If you want to make decisions as best, you got to do some tough decisions.
I think we're going to be in a better position in a couple of months when the county schools announce that they're going to build a road behind Northport Elementary, between Northport Elementary and Grand Point. Yes, they're going to, because of the new the new 5-6 school.
5-6.
Okay, at County High, if you're on Rose Boulevard looking at County High and the road goes around to Northport Elementary,
Yeah.
That little church that sits there, right next to that church, they just built a 5-6 school against the better wishes of the citizens of
It was
Northport.
told.
Wanted a middle school.
They
It
wanted
was
a middle
supposed to
school.
be
We were
6,
told.
7, 8. Well, they're supposed to get tired of me telling the story, but 3 times I went before the county commission with the county school board at their request to ask for funding to build the Northport Middle School 6, 7, and 8. 3 different times over 7 or 8 years. I did. I left office, and I guess they wasn't scared of me no more. So they built a 5 and 6 grade school.
And there was a huge public outcry at that point.
How many middle
And-
schools do y'all have? You have Collins Riverside, you have
Eccles.
Eccles.
That's-
Those are, you throw a rock, hit each one of them. Really, I mean,
So
down there,
now what the current
and then you got
plan,
a 5-6 school up here.
well, the current plan now is to make Northport Elementary pre-K through 4th grade, Huntington pre-K through 4th grade, have the 5-6, Northport 5-6, make Collins Riverside a 5-6, and then Eccles would be a 7-8. You'd think
It's just everywhere.
it's everywhere.
It's all over.
How many
It's like
transitions is that?
Oh, my daughter, who's in 4th grade right now, will be supposedly going to the 5-6 school next year. Then she will go to the 7-8. Then she will go to County High. But there was a board meeting this morning, I guess, or a work session. And yeah, and they said that our new superintendent, Dr. Johnson, is not for it. But the board had voted on that before she was there. And so now they're saying that, which this just pisses me off as a mother. I have one at Huntington and one at Northport. And they said they're looking to postpone the switch of Northport Elementary and Huntington Place for 1 year only. So the proposal would keep Northport pre-K through 2 for next year. And Huntington would be just 3rd and 4th grade only. And then the new school would be 5th and 6th graders. 7 and 8 would still go to Eccles. The reasoning behind that is literacy issues caused by COVID-19 and meeting the Alabama Literacy Act. And then they said another benefit of a 1 year delay would be the ability to study the new census data, new developments plan for the 43-69 North areas, and need to reevaluate the entire feeder system to County High because of, and apparently, and Dr. Johnson is not for that plan.
Now, Dr. Johnson was on my staff as coordinator secondary when we decided not to cut down on transitions. She knows the research doesn't support having multiple transitions. If you look at all the very successful districts, they have done away with as many transitions as they can.
But we presented all that data.
I remember hearing that from, I think, Ray.
And the whole
Somebody.
point of them saying
Yeah.
that they were gonna build the 5-6 school, aside from, I think, Walter Davy just being adamant about doing it, is Crestmont was overcrowded, Matthews was overcrowded. I don't see Matthews and Crestmont in that list of, I guess they're keeping their 5th grades then?
No, they're still planning to send them is what, the 5th grade's being sent.
So
How
they'll,
big is this
they'll
school?
all stay at
Well,
K.
Well, here's what Shelby County was going to do for Alabaster, because they did a lot of shell games in the discussion. Once they announced, we're going to really look at this, we're really going to get into this, we think we can make it work, we're going to allocate some resources. They came to Alabaster City Council and said, hey, if you give us a penny, which is about, our penny's about worth about $6.5 million a year. You give us a penny, we'll build you an intermediate school. And they said, well, we need a new high school. We don't need a new intermediate school. Well, we know what's best for your community. We're going to build.
That sounds like Tuscaloosa County School
It
System.
sounds like what's happening right now.
We're going to build this. And what they tried, though, after the fact, this is what you have to be really careful with. And this is one thing that I think if Adam Mosley was in here, he'd tell you, as former city councilman. Be careful once you launch and you really make your decision to do this, it's over.
There's
No matter
going back.
what they come back and do. If they had listened in Alabaster, we would have a new high school that would be probably about the size of Helena with 2,000 people. You couldn't get 2,000 people in Helena's gym and cafeteria and hallways. That's what y'all have got to make sure of. Northport has almost done this a few times. You've got to be sure that you don't want to almost fail your kids again. Because if you get into negotiating, oh, they're going to give us this, they were going to do what they need to do by the citizens of Northport that have already done it.
You got to cut the cord.
You got to be willing to do it. It's hard.
Once the city council says, votes on it,
Not hard for me.
well, once they vote and say, yes, appoint the board, and they appoint the board, how does the city council play in that anymore?
The city council can advise, can talk, can work with, but once the board is appointed,
They're the decision
they're the
makers.
decision makers. But it also protects the city and the council. They did what they were supposed to do.
Mhm.
That's the reason the board that's appointed has to have the fire that we're talking about in here. You can't have lukewarm people that, oh, we're going to put them on there because they kind of want to do this. It's got to be people that believe in it and are smart as can be. And, and they've got to have a little bit of I wouldn't say a mean streak in them, but a little bit of a toughness that they're not going to be swayed.
Or bald.
Or bald, or
Well put.
or put off in this. And that's one thing I can say about the board that was appointed in Alabaster and the board that I have right now. I would take them to war with me any day of the week. There were 5 of the finest people that you could ever put on a board on public service. And they will listen and work and collaborate. But when it comes to our kids, you better get ready, because they're going to do what's best for our kids. And that's where the toughness comes in. And you also got to appoint someone. We were very fortunate. We were able to appoint Phil Hammonds, who was a retired superintendent from Jefferson County, a wonderful person, a great guy. And he was more of PR. He did, he went around and polished everybody and made them happy and did all that during the time that we existed, about a year before I was hired. And at that same time, that penny kept growing, kept being put there. And in Saraland, there was a half penny that we kept building. And that was the money that was used for startup. It's going to take 18 months to 2 years to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have that money set aside and it's growing and building, then they come to you and say, hey, well, here's what you owe. And we owed, what, 12.5 million in Alabaster. Of course, after walking the schools, I couldn't hardly believe that. But, and I thought it was a ripoff, but there wasn't nothing I could do about it. I said, hey, one system had the bill given to them and then they couldn't make it work.
What do you mean the bill?
Okay,
Explain that.
otherwise you owe, now county high, y'all probably pay, this probably should be paid for by now.
Yes.
Y'all still
Yes.
paying on county high, y'all have to pay that bill anyway.
We paid our 5 million,
Yeah,
it ended
yeah.
about 2 years
2
ago.
years ago.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't have any bond. Anything that's newly built,
The brand new intermediate school.
is newly built,
We'll
they
take on
can,
that debt.
they can, you have to assume the debt.
Right,
I was able to take our penny and go to the market, and we were able to borrow, don't fall out, of $125 million. I paid the check to Shelby County, paid off their debt, took over all the stuff that we have, and I got 1.25% interest rate, which was unheard of.
right.
So it was a brilliant move on our part. You couldn't borrow that kind of money right now from a relative for that kind of interest rate. And we hit it perfect. You all do not pull a Gardendale. Gardendale had a brand new high school. You ever been to it? It's beautiful.
Right.
I toured it. It is a gorgeous, brand new school. And they said, hey, now we're going to have to build a school for these kids that are not in this zone. You got to help us. They could have settled that for 20-something million dollars. They'd have gotten a $48 million school for $20 million. Gardendale had all kind of economic development. They could have went and to the bond market and borrowed that money, had their own district, and everybody been happy. And they started listening to, oh, we don't want to do that. I don't want to assume that debt. Now, of course, your middle school didn't cost them $48 million. But be ready to, if you're going to do it, step up to the plate. You got to be willing to take on the responsibility for anything you owe. Meadowview was our newest school. When we got there, it was 2002. And I think we owed $11-12 million.
I can't imagine that all our schools are
can't.
so old.
I can't imagine Crestmont, Flatwood.
Flatwood.
You should know anything on them. If you do, then
Huntington.
you need to.
All of us.
Riverside.
Riverside. Can you imagine?
Eccles.
All the old ones.
Flatwoods.
The only ones you would owe for Huntington's old, older would be Northport Elementary and the new Northport.
When did Northport Elementary get built?
It's been a while.
20 years
Jordan,
ago.
it's
It
like
was a
it's
long
started.
time ago.
Yeah.
Catherine went there.
Dr.
She
Vickers.
started the first grade there.
Now looking back, you being part of two different experiences, what were you done different?
The only
And what
thing that,
advice?
the only thing I would have done differently is I would have been a little bit more aggressive in Alabaster's case. I think I love Dr. Hammond's a wonderful man and a good friend of mine, but he's not as fiery as I am. And I think we've settled on some things in that settlement agreement that in the one I'll send you from Saraland, we didn't settle. We were ready to fight.
Right.
And that's what you got to decide. You either want it or you don't. And you're going to have, and we have relatives here in Northport, and there's a couple of them that I love, and I love them dearly, but they are, if they thought that they could save a nickel by driving 100 miles out of the way, they'd do it. And those aren't the people you need to listen to. Oh, you're going to raise my taxes. Well, no one in Alabaster is worried about their taxes being raised. We're just so excited that we're going to be able to, we have people right now that are selling houses and are making a fortune off of them and building a garden home and retiring in another year or two.
I think we have the population now that we've our population has taken over the old school mindset.
Mentality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many young families
I
now.
think you also have something that Alabaster doesn't have. You have variety in your housing market.
Yes,
You can attract a younger family who couldn't afford a $300,000 home.
that's our big problem right now in Alabaster. We have outpriced ourselves for young families.
And we're on that track right now.
Yeah, and it is so frustrating because if you have a house that's $250,000 or less, it will never make it to the market. And especially if you put it out there on Facebook, hey, I'm thinking about selling, then you have people messaging you all night.
It's like my, if I shared it, my 34-year-old son and his new bride are buying a house about 5 minutes from Thompson High School. But 3 weeks ago, they put a house came on the market. They saw it early in the morning. They put an offer in on it. They felt good about it. That afternoon, they called up. It was 32 offers on that house. 32 offers on that house.
Yeah.
And so, but they're going to close on their first house next Friday. But a school system can do that. But you're talking about the availability of houses in Tuscaloosa, and I've shared this before in a meeting a couple of weeks ago with Mayor Maddox, with Mercedes, with IDA, with the Chamber of Commerce. As a Zoom meeting talking about the 3,300 new jobs coming to our county in the next 3 years. 3,300 jobs. But people coming in from out of state are looking at Alabaster. They're looking at Hoover because of the availability of housing, for one thing, but of course the school systems. They don't like the city of Tuscaloosa and the Tuscaloosa County school system, people coming from out of state. So we're going to have the homes here in Northport. Here, we got a bunch of homes coming under construction. What I did not realize was that the houses in Tuscaloosa County cost so much more than they do anywhere else. Even in Hoover, they cost more. I know had you said the other day about the house next to you up in Grand Point going
$497.
$497,000.
In Grand Point?
In Grand
Not right
Point.
behind me. I'm like, sell it, honey.
And see, but the beauty of what, and Saraland did this, Saraland also helped revitalize their older part of town.
Hmm.
You know, when I built Saraland Elementary, I tore down the old one and built a new one there. And it was part to prove a point that that part of Saraland needed some revitalization. And the best thing I could do was put that elementary school there. And you would not believe how many young families flocked there.
Yeah.
Sidewalks were already there. They renovated those brick ranch houses and made them beautiful. And now they're seeing the value of that. Y'all got an opportunity to do that same thing because you got a beautiful older part of Northport.
Well, Matthews Elementary is right there. I mean,
Yeah, you've got
Charming
all-
downtown.
Yeah, you've got a charming, beautiful, y'all got so many positives. But you have to have the will to put up with the naysayers. And Facebook and all of that, you just can't worry about it. If anybody comes in and says, oh, you're getting blown up on Facebook, and I'm like, well, I'm not on Facebook. Thank you.
Yeah.
You can't handle business and politics on Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Amen.
And if you worry about it, you worry about what somebody's talking about on Facebook. If they know where I'm at my office, I haven't missed a day of work probably in 27 years. Everybody knows where I'm going to be from 7 o'clock to 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
If you need to find me, you can find me. And you can't worry about it. It's either the right thing to do or it's not the right thing to do.
And it's usually the same people who are fussing about everything else.
Oh, yeah.
And they the loudest.
Yeah, yeah. You know, the garbage can got turned over. And I'm like, you know what? My dad's garbage can got turned over. And I never heard him fuss about it. He went and picked his garbage can up.
well, and social media can be your best friend and your worst enemy at the same time. I mean, because it can also be a way to get people to buy into the idea if it's done right.
If you have the positive, and that's one thing I love about my community now, and I love about Sarah, but the positive people were not going to let the negative outdo them. And you'll have to have that. When you see the negative, you'll have to have those individuals that are your warriors to get in there and take care of business. Because one thing I found out about a lot of people, they love to throw rocks, but when they get them thrown back, they don't like it.
Oh, yeah, believe me,
And
people
you-
won't respond to me.
Yeah, so and I love my people, that I've got them in my community that will take care. Alvin Grandpa was one of them, a 1952 graduate of Thompson High School. That was old Thompson, hated everything we were doing when we started. And now that man is, brought me his leather jacket. We're doing a little museum thing. Brought me, back then, the football team, when they won the county championship, they got a belt buckle. They didn't get a ring, they got a belt buckle. That man has bought in.
Yeah.
And he said, I see what you're doing for these kids. That's what it's about. And he is a warrior on Facebook because he's retired inspector for the city. Yeah. If anybody says anything bad about me or Pam, they got to deal with him.
Well, I just hate when people respond and they're not educated in what they're saying, and it just, sometimes I don't say anything, but sometimes I'm just in a mood.
I love people to call out folks that are saying wrong things. And Pam does a little bit of that too.
I
Do you
hear you.
remember me telling y'all about the coaching supplement and
Yeah.
you saw the
Oh,
article
yeah.
on Facebook? This is the one who was doing all the talking. That's why I didn't have to respond.
Yeah, and you'll need that. And I agree. I'm just saying you can't let the negativity, because there's going to be negative. Oh, you're going to raise our taxes. I got that the first 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And I said, when I come to you to raise property taxes, you're going to be the very one that's going to support. And I said, eventually, I don't see us ever getting to 75 mills like Hoover. I don't ever see that. We've not had to raise property tax because the city
Right.
was generous enough, with what they did. But I do believe that if you talk to my mayor and council and they thought that we needed to go and get a property tax increase with the record that we have, I just don't think anybody's going to argue.
Well, I think honestly, we talk about funding and we need to have, because I do think that's going to take a little bit of time, but I don't know what I know we have that 1 cent, I know it's in buckets and all that already, but our property taxes are so low. I believe 1,000% that if the council put that forward and raised property taxes tomorrow or voted for, and I think you have to have a vote for the people, right?
Vote for the people.
Yeah.
But it's changed. The rule was usually you had to have 2/3. Now you only have to have a majority.
Yeah, I think it would pass in a
That's a
second.
big difference.
I literally
yeah.
think it would pass in a second.
Oh, well, and the thing is, but what I would suggest is that in Saraland, they did a half penny, and in Alabaster did a penny. And Saraland went back 8 years later and resounding victory for the 7.5 mil property tax. Half of it for capital projects to keep things going, keep things new and fresh. And then the other half was for other operations and expanding the instructional program.
But since we already did the penny increase, how does that work?
Well, Jamie and I have talked about this. A couple, 3 years ago, the city of Tuscaloosa passed a 1 cent sales tax increase. Well, Northport didn't really have to, but they followed suit. Which right now it's generated about $6 million a year. And that is the previous council had to do, like you said, put in buckets to spend on different things. Well, what I would like to suggest, maybe taking half of that 1 cent, not increasing it, but just take half, because right now it's just gravy. Anyway, it's just gravy. We still have $3 million to do the projects, drop in the buckets. We'd have $3 million as startup money for a school system. We wouldn't have to increase anybody's taxes, just take what's already been approved and take that to start it out. And then, as Dr. Vickers said, when the citizens see the turnaround, the success of things that are going on, they're going to jump all over helping out with more money. But that's just a thought. That's just something I would suggest, that we wouldn't have to raise anybody's. We'd just reappropriate what we've already got of the gravy that we're getting, and then have a half cent in the education bucket. That's just a suggestion.
And now those 3 million, let's say, $3 million, would that be enough for?
But that'd be $3 million a year.
$3 million a year.
So if it took 18, 24 months, you'd have a $6 million fund already in an account for your school system.
Plus getting the money from the county, the
Yeah.
state that we'd be getting.
And we got tuition money for any of those kids that were in the county that came to us. We got all of their property tax money. We got everything. They paid us money. So we got money for them being in our district.
Right.
From the county. They wrote us a check every year. So, that money was great because we already had enough funds to pay for it all. And so, it's really, y'all got a really great opportunity, but you've got to have funds, to pay the bills. You also have to be able as a city to, if they produce you, you want them to come and say, well, this is what it's going to take to get your system. That means you got them. Please don't let this go out on.
Hang on, cut it off.
But you got it. They make you an offer. That's Gardendale's mistake. They had to offer 50 cents on the dollar for the building that they had. They should have gone to the market and done what they had to do and took that, and they'd have their own school system. And you can't tell me that they're in better shape than they are right now. They are suffering in a large county, even though the county has been very good to them. Probably as good as any district.
Uh-huh.
And they'd already hired a superintendent.
Yeah, they'd hired a superintendent and a central office and a financial officer. And,
Who's responsible for going and getting the loan?
well, what Gardendale could have done at that time, they could have gone in, the city could have gone in and worked with the county, the city board, and they could have come up and done a joint agreement to get a bond issue to take that on.
And the city of Northport has a very good bond rating.
One of the best. Y'all are very highly rated. Y'all always made really great decisions as a district. I think y'all are poised. Y'all's penny is as much as our penny. That ought to tell you everything you need to know. If your penny is as much as my penny as a district, then why in the world am I sitting here 8 years in the school system and y'all are just now getting to the point to do it? That ought to tell you everything you need to know. Y'all got more money. Sarah Land can't touch the budget that y'all would have, even with the millage you got. And look at what they've done. And, and all it takes is people wanting to do it. But I will tell you, do it because you want every kid, every part of this city to thrive. Because if you can't do that, then you don't need to do it.
All right.
But if you can do it, you got to make your decisions about every child matters and every part of the city matters. And that's one thing about it. When I took over at Alabaster, there were people that had been working there for years that didn't even know we had a couple of housing projects. I'm like, shame on you. You've been working how many years here and you didn't know that was there? That's the kind of stuff that happens when people are not ingrained in the fabric of your community. And you will have to be the gatekeepers of hiring somebody that's going to make sure every Northport child thrives.
Well, I think changing the mentality of me to us, and I do think that's one of Northport's biggest downfalls in a lot of ways, is people that make decisions are me, and they aren't thinking about we. And so I think we have to find people that really do want. I mean, when I think about like growing up here and like Friday nights were everybody was there.
Yeah, you knew Heather and I went to school together. But
Everybody was, y'all were the
the old school.
Yeah, that's,
Just talked about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's Pam talked about it
Mentality.
all
The
the time.
parade downtown, the homecoming
Oh.
parade downtown.
It's
It was pride.
y'all have the ingredients because it's not going to take long for things to pile up and matter. When you hire an additional counselor and you see scholarships improve and somebody gets, instead of going to junior college, they actually get a free ride to UWA or Alabama and you start changing households. You're able to hire a social worker that can get in there and solve some issues in these homes before they become real issues in high school. Y'all got all that ingredients. And I tell you, if I didn't think you had it, I've told Pam for years, I said, I cannot believe that Northport, with as thriving a city as this is, has not said, we've got to do this for our students. And if Alabaster can do it, you all can do it.
I know we need to go, but I was, when you said about appointing a board and not being an election, and then obviously the superintendent would be hired. So there's no laws about that.
Mm-mm.
So City of Tuscaloosa just decided, hey, let's make this political. And the county did a
And it has been a.
shit show.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's
Yeah,
exactly. Hey, I'm gonna tell you, everybody. What's my rule? I've never applied at one place that was an elected board. And my two sons were at that interview, and
that
they
was-
walked out of
That
that
was
meeting.
Tuscaloosa County.
They walked out of that meeting and said, you can't work for them. They knew it. They said, that ain't gonna work. Them on the phone with teachers and telling people what's going on? No way. We know how you do it. We know how it's supposed to be done. And he said, and I'm in ninth grade. That an appointed board means that the city council and mayor, if the person doesn't do a stellar job, then they usually find something else for them to do. But the people you put on the school board are the people that are treasures in your community. And I mean, they are going to look out for every kid. They're going to be above politics, and they're going to stay in their lane.
When
Because
y'all
you can't have a
appointed,
meddling group either.
when Alabaster appointed the board, did they come up with 5 people as a city, or did they come up with 5 people in each district? They came up with the 5 best in the entire city.
They interviewed the 5 best for the city school system. And they did not want them out of each zone because they didn't want them feeling like they represented a group of people.
That's
You
smart.
represented the city
It's just at large.
at large. You represent the city because you don't want to be in place one and then they feel like they have to represent everybody in Northwood Lake in that area. You don't want that because you may have to make a decision that you have to change something or move a zone, and you have to do what's in the best interest. Politics in school boards, county boards are large and they've always been elected. That's the way they do business. But in city systems that are successful, the last thing you'll have is elected board. And the ones that have changed over the years, it's usually been because the mayor and council and school board got sideways on something. So we're going to make you elected. And then they replaced them all. And now they've been running around in a mess since. One city district is one of the best, has had what? 5 superintendents in the past 8 years. Who wants that? Eventually that's going to catch up with you. That's the thing is an appointed board means you have the ability to do what's best.
Do you set like job descriptions almost for that?
Board members, the city council sets parameters for what it takes to be a school board member.
Because I mean,
Like Sarah Lynn, you had to have certain characteristics as far as you either had to have education or you had to have great work experience, which mattered too. A lot of business owners, on my board in Sarah Lynn, I had a retired CSFO at Alabama Power, the housing department from Mobile's CSFO. I had Miss Josephine who owned her restaurant, her barbecue restaurant, and you were 30-year veteran from Chrysler too. And then we had Dr. Myrick, who was on my board in Alabaster, retired educator, superintendent, and and a professor at University of Mobile, and then our pastors. And, great people, but I'm going to tell you something: they weren't swayed by no politics.
I think that's going to be the biggest hurdle though for Northport. If I'm just being my true honest self, like, perfect example. I mean, we need a city administrator, and the job description is just getting dumbed down and dumbed down and dumbed down, and no nationwide search, things like that. Like, how are we going to have standards that no one's willing to waver from if we do a school
Let
board.
let this committee make the standards.
Well, you can, and bottom line is, I can show you what other districts have done. And it's sort of like, you've ever all been part of a church that gets messy when they start trying to get the pastor? You know, it can't be like that. This is the treasure of your city.
Well, it's taking politics out of it.
It's your children. And if you can't get politics out of that, then you got problems.
Mhm.
And it has to be best people. And you know, City of Alabaster put a council member on there. He's my board president. He was there when all the decisions were made. He knows the history. He knows the history. But that individual gave up a council seat to be on the board because they also kept the council and mayor honest to, hey, now here's why we did that, remember?
Yeah.
And that's good because that good communication and that camaraderie. But he's not a politician right now. You have to be political, but you can't be a politician. You can't be in my job and be a politician. You have to be politically minded, politically savvy. But, you know, I'm not running for mayor and I'm not running for city council. You know, I'm going to make as many people mad as I am happy. But what I want people to say about me and our board is that we did what was best by the kids that we served. This shows you what can happen in a few years if you look at the championships.
I was gonna say results for what you showed.
And it's not just about athletics.
Yeah,
but
that's huge. But that's your front porch. That's
It
your,
is.
you know,
That's what
That's
everybody
what I
thinks
say.
about.
yeah,
you know,
and like band.
But it comes down to everything. I'm married to a high school football coach, so
But we've got as many accolades in our band,
Yeah,
our choir,
Well,
our drama, our broadcast team.
a band grows when you have an awesome program.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Well, and someone said, well, I can't believe that you went to Hawaii and recruited Talia Tungavaloa to come to Alabaster. And I said, do you really think, now I consider myself pretty good, do you really think that I could know who he was and fly out there and recruit his family to live not only on 2 houses now in our community? You really think I can do that? I said, I must be pretty good.
You can't, Coach Freeman can.
Well, Coach Freeman, you know, winning and having a winning attitude.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, we just got a new person on our staff, Kerry Stevens. You know, was at Tennessee and then was at Alabama. He is our life coach. We hired a life coach for our kids to work with our kids that we can't connect with. It's not about football. If you meet Kerry Stevens, I don't know if we all know him. If you meet him, he changes kids' lives. And I met him. I said, I got to hire him. He's a retired educator, so it was easy. Tell you what, I can make a living off hiring retired people because I can get them in steel. And some of the first things he's going to do is some of our kids that have slipped through the cracks. We're going to go through some drive-throughs and we're going to pull some kids out of those drive-throughs and get them connected back to college. They dropped out or they've done some things or made some choices, and we're going to make a difference. And nobody told us we had to do that. No board, no council, no mayor. But when you start getting down to that 18, 19%, it's not going anywhere. Or one that went somewhere, I think Mackey, who was talented and got all it, but you know, he can't get him out of that lifestyle that he's in, that generate. We've got to. And I think Kerry's going to help me get to that kid. He's going to help me get him back where he needs to be. He's also going to take over when we have our kids in a bubble. We run a bubble just like University of Alabama runs a bubble. That's why we didn't have one kid get COVID on our athletic programs. That was not easy. I dealt with it on the phone today, dealing with issues of trying to make it work. This is not easy work, but I will tell you, it is the most meaningful thing when kids call you, say thanks so much. And some of them, you know, we were busting their tail to get them to do stuff. But that's the difference you make. Y'all, you gotta want it. You gotta want it for the kid that you don't know. And you want it for your kids but you also want it for the generations to come. You want to be known that I made a difference. We made that happen. Now look at what happened.
When
And
people
I'm
start
talking to a rival,
experiencing
too,
it,
so it's
then they'll
it's a
want it.
Oh, of course.
When people experience it, then they want it. Sure. My husband always says that about, I need to quit coaching. And I'm like, and every season I think, oh, I can't do this again. And then that parent or that kid comes up at the end of the season and just says, your husband changed his life, or, you know, coach changed my life, or getting the call of having to Venmo kids stuck in Atlanta.
Hey,
I mean,
But it's a group effort.
It
to
is.
keep those kids eligible, not only eligible to play for him, but eligible to play at the next level. Or, you know, that's
standards are
good
changed.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what the beauty of local control. You know, there's nowhere to hide in Alabaster. You can't hide. If you're gonna be average, I don't want you. We weed the garden. Somebody, you know, the old saying in Shelby County was, oh, give them another year, give them another year. We don't give anybody another year. You either show us your best when you're there, or you find something else to do, and we help you find somewhere else to go.
One of the things that I've heard from board members on the county school board a lot is about all the, I guess, the state mandates of building and the state mandates of this, and how it, you know, makes things cost $1 gazillion more and that kind of thing. Is that just because we do that here, or is that something everyone has to
Everybody
do?
has to face that, but it's about to change. There's legislation right now. It's going to reconfigure the state building commission and put it under probably Brandon Payne, who is a really great guy, was a superintendent in Coleman. You know, he's now at the State Department. If they put it there, I think you'll have architects and people will be able to take ownership of the things that they do. You know, we'll still have to meet building code just like everyone else does, but it'll be more reasonable. Like I've got more restrooms at, you know, at our high school than everybody could probably go to the bathroom at the same time. You know, and that's a little bit ridiculous, but there's also, you know, building standards that we have to follow. My thinking though is it would have taken me forever to get $100 million of construction done. We did it in what, 3 years, 2.5 years. Because I had a board that when I wanted to meet, they were there. When we had to make decisions, they came forward and worked with me to do it.
And you have an advisory council of students that help determine the kinds of things that we did, like at the new high school. Our kids said, we don't want lockers. Our parents think we need lockers, but we don't want lockers. We want wider hallways, or we want those, you know, water fountains.
Yeah,
the water
which are
bottle
refillable, yeah.
Yeah, well, they didn't want them, the lockers, and I said, well, tell me. They said, well, call over and ask Miss Dennis how many of us bought lockers. I
Nobody.
said, okay, call. Said, how many bought lockers? I got the committee in here. She said, well, the freshmen, the parents buy the lockers, but nobody else buys any.
Because they have a classroom set up at home.
Saved us $250,000 for lockers.
Oh.
And you know how many complaints I've gotten about not having lockers at our high school? 0. Where do most issues happen? At the
At the
locker.
lockers.
And so kids don't, you know, kids got everything on their phone or their, you know,
They wanted charging stations in the
yeah,
cafeteria.
and it didn't cost anything to put those in there.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny when I get a call from a kid at Mississippi State on a tour, hey, their cafeteria's not as nice as ours. Yeah, he said,
good.
I told him that too. I said, don't tell him that, you're trying to get a scholarship. Don't mess with it. You know, but I love-
We moved into the school in February this week, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And they were walking around. We went to Mississippi State and they're walking around looking for, where do I plug my phone in? I'm like, y'all, you didn't have that at your old school.
Yeah.
Like, that's not everywhere.
Yeah, but the expectation now is that they know we're gonna give them the best we can get. Whatever, and it doesn't always mean the most expensive thing. You know, I work with our band, we're trying to redo the drum line right now. And, you know, he said, look, I can go 3 or 4 different ways. And I said, get what your band members in your drum line, what they want. And they came in with a very reasonable price to where we redoing the drum line. I don't want them out selling donuts. I want them practicing being better drummers. I don't want my coaches out raising a bunch of money. I want them coaching, and it works. You know, our coaches are hired to coach I don't hire football coaches to teach history.
You see our new football coach.
Yes, I'm real proud of that. He's a darn good coach.
Yeah.
One Garden's very respectful. He had our tails whooped till 18 seconds.
He handed that game over.
Yeah, he had us, we were all like, oh my gosh, what happened? But I'll tell you, our coaches coached to the end. They were coaching up to the very end, or we wouldn't have had an opportunity
Yeah.
to come through, but he's a fine man. I
Well,
know that
we
much.
met him last night. They had a thing at County High. We talked to him for a little while and it was good. Do you think, Doc, it would be beneficial for us at any point to send some folks up just to observe your school board meeting? Just to
Sure.
see what type of people, maybe just talk to them, get their ideas on things.
Now, if you come to a school board meeting, it's gonna be over in about 25 minutes.
Well,
We don't have long meetings.
Come see our schools.
Yeah.
Come talk to our kids.
No, and come to, my board members are open. I got 3 of them are retired. And they'll be glad to meet.
I'd like to do
and
that.
Visit, and you can see the caliber of people. You know, these are quality people, but they're also tough people. You know, they're tough and they get it. And the Saraland board's the same way. It's the same board that I had when I was down there. They're quality people. Come to meetings, come visit our schools, walk the halls. Once we get, you know, we're hoping to get vaccinations coming up pretty soon, and you know, but we can take you through. John Myrick did your study for you.
Well, that's the
Probably-
next thing. Don't we have to get a new study done
It'd
pretty
be
soon?
good.
Update it.
I guess we need to contact him maybe for, see how much he would charge to update it. I guess we need to do that and then just get a price and recommend to the council to see if they would approve the expenditure.
Well, and Dr. Myrick, and I talked to him the other day about that, because I said I was coming down here to meet you all. I don't keep much from my board.
Right.
Last thing they need to hear is I'm down visiting somewhere and they don't know about it.
And they know it's Pam's hometown.
Yeah, so they get a little nervous. And they said, you know, they're a rival of ours, don't you? I said, yeah. I said, you know, once you get old like me, 31 years in, you don't want to help kids. And you want to do the right thing. I tried to help Gardendale because I was a mentor to their new superintendent, Patrick. But, you know, I would get an update on this, and I'm going to talk to Dr. Myrick.
Okay.
Because there may be I know there's another company that he worked with and consulted with that has done a few other studies. I think they did Gulf Shores and some others. You know, so you may, but the bottom line is you don't have to spend a lot of money. I think he was very reasonable when he did y'all.
He was. But I still need to get something to get okayed.
Yeah,
But if he could, if you could get that, or if he could have him contact me, or
I'm gonna give him your email and let him
Okay.
contact you. Dr. Myrick, now, talking about a legend, that man is a legend. And he will tell you the truth. But y'all really think, and it's gotta be in your heart to do this. This is not easy work. You know, we still have jealousies, you know, people are jealous, you know, you're gonna have, and I'm just gonna say it, you're gonna have the fire department, and sometimes the other departments, they're getting all that money and they're getting that half penny, and that can be for us. Now, everybody realizes that we're all on the same team. As our kids thrive, they're getting to experience that. We also made it where any city employee can bring their kid to our school system.
That's cool.
And it helps, because then, you know, you have a
business
group of people, or a business owner, anybody that owns a business, owns the property in the community, can bring their kid to our school system. And you'd be surprised at what a difference that makes, you know, over time.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people that take advantage of it, and they eventually, a lot of them move.
And then
After they get their
you have
kids in.
instant community partners, sponsors,
Yeah.
so forth in those
That's
businesses.
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Asking
it
for money.
Oh, yeah.
was just a brilliant move on our part. And we've been expanded it to the water board and other boards that exist so that they can bring their employees. Of course, they have to maintain good standing and all those things. But y'all, if you look at this, this is a team effort. But you have to, the 5 board members and your superintendent if they do not have vision, and your board members have to have the ability to let the superintendent do their job. And that's where I've been so fortunate in all 3 school districts that I work in. Those individuals let me do my work. They knew their role and responsibility, and they let me do mine. And remember, boards only make policy.
Right.
So, that's the thing is, but they are a team with me in that, I talk to them before every board meeting, before every agenda item. I've never had a, knock on wood, in my 14 years, never had a no vote on anything. Anything. But that's a lot of work. Because it's not that we didn't have some people that had questions. We answer questions, we work together, but we don't make a 3-ring circus out of a board meeting.
Right.
That's refreshing.
And we don't do, they don't. If there's got a problem, I'm gonna know it long before we get in a meeting. It's gonna be talked out, worked out, and they're usually, they just have legitimate questions. I love that, because that means you're reading material and you're interacting.
Since it's not an elected board, do you have to have media and that kind of stuff when you're meeting? You still have to?
Yeah, yes, I have to. And if you do your job, they don't worry about you anymore. If you don't provide them chaos,
Yeah.
then they don't, you're not newsworthy. They call me, we have the Alabaster Reporter, a local newspaper, and they usually call me and go over the agenda and say what he wants to do an article on. And that's they help us with our PR piece. But if you also look at, we hired a chef. A lot of people think I was crazy. I hired a part-time chef to rework our menus because our food stunk. And,
I was gonna ask that question too.
and we did that, and we increased. Now it's where everybody wants to be. Of course, man has not eaten in a cafeteria since 2nd grade, but
Had a little bad experience at Crestmont in 2nd grade.
Oh.
Can't get past it.
but other than that, our kids love it. And we have all different kind of ideas. We went off the state bid. We did our own bid. So I'm ordering the same kind of stuff that you can order at a restaurant. And our chicken's actually real chicken. And, we don't have all those little pieces in it and all that. We try to do what's best.
Yeah.
And we have pretty high standards. And our kids will send me an email, hey, look at this piece of chicken. And our people know they're going to send it to me.
We still have Crispitos.
Yeah, oh, yes.
I mean,
But we also have,
love
we
that.
spent all that money and we still have 2.17 months in reserve. So we have almost $11 million in the bank. And fund balance analysis, culture climate surveys, all that other stuff. I wanted y'all to have it. And this is our school. You don't think facilities matter?
They matter.
And someone said, I can't believe you're building that school. And I said, hey, I made it real clear when I came here. If y'all weren't ready to compete with Mountain Brook, Vestavia, Hoover, and Spain Park, and Oak Mountain, you're not ready to do that, I can stay right there in Saraland. I've already got those folks down there beat. We've got McGill and all them on the run. And no one else is competing against us except in Baldwin County, Spanish Fort County. So, and they agree. They said, we want to compete. And that's what you do. You listen to your kids. We have an advisory committee. They said, we don't want round stools. They said, it's embarrassing. Said some kids fit on them, some don't. And I said, well, one size does not fit all. And they said, that's right. He said, it's embarrassing. He said, give us some chairs and some booths and stuff. We'll take care of it. You go in that cafeteria today, almost 3 years, it looks just as good as it did that. And of course, our football stadium and strategic planning and all that other stuff. Advanced Ed Report Code, which is Cognia and now and Advanced Ed SACS accreditation, had one of the highest scores in the nation on our last accreditation, which was just passed in the last couple of months. We have scored a 355 out of 400. First time we were 303. Russell City Schools was a 311 this time. So that lets you know that's a team from the outside looking at things. And they're saying, hey, this is about as good as you can get it.
Right.
And I felt really good about that because those people owe us nothing. And one of them was a former Mountain Brook junior high principal that, we were a little bit worried that he was blown away. They'd never seen more turnaround in 5 years of data in any other place he'd ever looked at. He's been doing accreditation for 30 years. So the rest of this is just fun stuff. Y'all can take this, throw it away, whatever you want to do. Just you keep it. If you don't want to keep it, you give it back, save me a copy. But if you want to keep it and look through it, you're welcome to it. It started out with about 200 slides, so I did narrow it down in my presentation.
Wow.
There's other stuff that we can say.
As we wrap up, does anybody have any follow-up questions, anything that Dr. Vickers and Pam haven't touched on? Is there anything that you haven't had answered? Because you guys are the committee, you guys are our committee, so we really need, I'm asking for y'all to really absorb what we've taken in, because there are going to be some obstacles. There are going to be some obstacles within the city of Northport. I already know that, but it's going to depend on our knowledge and how we are able to present it. So I really want you guys to understand anything. Woodrow, go ahead.
How important is it for your board to be diverse? I was looking at Alabaster, and you have a black female, white female, black male, and 2 white males. So how important is it to make sure, because right now at the county board, you have 1 black female, and she finally got some company when we got the superintendent, Ms.
But
Johnson.
she don't have any company on that board.
Ms. Johnson is the superintendent.
Yeah, that's the only
Yeah,
one.
once she came,
Yeah.
other than that, it's 6 white men. And I know her personally, and she's really, really uncomfortable because it's a pushover.
But one of the things that Saraland, Demopolis, and Alabaster got right was making sure that there was diversity that reflected the community. But the vision for all of the individuals on there was the same. Right. There was no difference in that. But the diversity was there, and it was very important because you eliminate a lot of issues to begin with. You have individuals that communicate. Derek Henderson's our vice president of our board, outstanding, retired insurance for State Farm, brilliant, helps me on a lot of things as far as logistics. But our council and mayor did that because they felt like that was what was needed in our community. And it was, so we don't even think any more about it after that.
But I think there's more opportunity if you're appointing the board versus, because I was going to run for school board, and I was putting my name in, and then I had more men over the age of 75 that called me that I'd ever had in my whole life. And I was like, I'm not doing this. I was doing it for the kids, not for politics. But also, you really have to have someone, all the things that they require on the county school board, it tends to just be retired people because nobody else has the time to do all the things that they need you to do.
Well, I think that your council and mayor have to understand your community. That's the first thing. If they understand and believe in all parts of your community, the individuals that were appointed to our board from the beginning, Saraland, Demopolis, and Demopolis has had a long history of making sure that there was a diverse board. That was the first school system in the state to get unitary status, which means out of a court order. And that happened in 1980 for them. Tuscaloosa got it in 2099, something like that. But the vision was the same for every individual. And the diversity piece of it is important because now people understand that the city appointed those individuals that reflected the community. And that sends a message, and it eliminates a lot of unnecessary issues. And Alabaster is a very diverse community. And when you go to an election, you're right. It's just whoever's got the dollars to run and the ability to run. And sometimes, you can't set a lot of qualifications when it's an elected position. You can set some qualifications in an appointed position. And you just have to take a chance on an elected position. And when you see, you will never see a Wayne Vickers working for a political board. But I don't have time for politics. We've got work to do, and we couldn't have done that if I had to fight an elected board that felt like they owed something to their district. You appoint the best people, sure, diversity is a key, and it solved a lot of issues. Of course, we lost Ty, was one of our original board members who passed away with COVID. 48 years old, was one of the original board members that was on there. Ty, I grew up in Wilcox County, was a very successful attorney in town. But Ty was one of the visionaries. Actually, is one taught you into coming, because Pam was a no until she met with Ty. But that diversity was a commitment from the beginning. And it sent a real strong message positively to our community. And you're right, in the county school board, you might have one minority on a 7-member board. And that wasn't reflective of the community.
Right.
And I think that's something you have to look at. And it also reassures everyone that everyone matters.
I know they had opportunity to fill a position because someone passed recently and didn't even take that opportunity. Mainly just on an appointment, you could have done a little bit better than what it was. So.
Well, I think that's something that the city of Northport looks at their demographics, looks at their community, and just one thing I will say is you have to have a very gifted politician to leave an elected position to take an appointed position. That has to be someone special. It's kind of your gatekeeper, and Adam has served that. Adam gave up his influence and everything, and he just became a member. Now he's president of the board, but of course that just means he can't vote. He can't put a motion together. So he actually loses a lot of power in his ability to cast a vote. Even though he votes in the end, he just can't make a motion. But, diversity is a key. If you really want to matter on every street in this community, then you do it from the get-go and you set the tone.
Mhm.
And that means a lot. Because nobody made anybody do that. That happened in the beginning, just like in Sarah. And it set a message and it eliminated a lot of issues. Plus, we want everyone in our community to feel like they've got someone they can talk to. And most people now that they know me over 8 years, they'll talk to me about everything.
But our council and mayor and board, they serve on report card conferences at the high school with every ninth grade student. So they're interfacing with them, kind of holding them accountable. So it kind of gives the mayor and the council.
They're very involved
They
in
are.
those things, which are appropriate. And it also protects your mayor and council, because they don't want every school board meeting to be a city council meeting.
Right.
That's not good. But I do think that's a very good point. And as a committee, when you set things up, no one waits on applications when you have a school board. If you love this city, you'll have 10 of your best citizens that represent the diversity of this community ready to serve. And then you don't have to worry about somebody turning in an application. You leave it up to chance, and you get a chance. And I don't leave anything up to chance.
So I like to have like a plan of action. So for the board, you say specific qualifications, and you have stuff that y'all set before.
We have stuff that we set in Saraland by the Saraland City Council, and also in Alabaster, that are criteria. That can be given to y'all. We can provide that. That can be given. One thing I will tell you is there's only a few people in this state that you can really trust if you want to get this done. And it's not always the people you're going to have them. You're going to have to play really nice with the Alabama Association of School Boards, but you don't have to listen to everything they say. My board will tell you that. They're going to want you to do sometimes what's beneficial for them. You have to play nice so that they support things and everything. But And I can help y'all with that, and Dr. Myrick and all of us, because we want y'all to do something for your kids. You know, I'm talking to a rival here, 7A rival, but I believe that the children in this community need it. And you need to make decisions the best. You need to have criteria, but the main thing is the first plan of action is you got to update your feasibility study. You got to get a positive report out of this committee to the mayor and council about your intentions. You need to probably identify an attorney. People that have used their city attorney that don't know anything about education, Cardindale.
Well, no, we'd have to go with, if you recommend some folks, then since you've experienced at it, we've got a good city attorney, but it's like you said, he is not in education.
And he provides a lot of great resources, but you want someone that can come in here and has done this 2 or 3 times. I recommended Bob Campbell to Gulf Shores. You know, everybody said Gulf Shores couldn't do it. Well, guess what? They got Bob and Nash Campbell. And by golly, he did Saraland, Chickasaw, Satsuma, and Gulf Shores. And he's probably going to do Orange Beach because they're next. And our attorneys, Whit Colvin, have done a few of them. You know, there's a little fraternity of the education attorneys, and you don't want them to, you know, to mess around with you. You want to make sure, but Whit and them would, they took it on, they would be a formidable and reputable group. Carl is one that I work with the most. But I could get all of that information to you. You know, I do this more of as right now I did it for Gulf Shores. I met with their city council mayor, met with their school board when they appointed their school board. Kevin Corcoran, he's in my phone. Mayor's in my phone. I worked with them on a lot of the things they did. I did turn down their job, you know, multiple times because I'm not looking for a job. I'm looking for opportunity. I think y'all can better serve the children that you have in your community, and I'm going to try to help you. Because if I had a kid here, I'd want someone to help them. And that's why I do it. So, you know, that's anything I can do. But the new study, a recommendation from this committee, working on kind of an application type standard for a school board member that the city council would need to adopt. You know, once they appointed the school board, they have to do that, then they post. But don't post and then wait on people to come in. You go ahead and figure out who's best. And if they have a big opinion about what they think should be done, then they're probably not your person to be on the school board. All they should be doing is, I want our kids to have a great opportunity, and I think a school system is the way to do it. Now let's hire somebody who knows what they're doing to get it done.
Right.
And those are all key things because, you know, if I'd been put into this a few years ago, I wouldn't have known what to do. I learned from Dr. Hill in Demopolis how you protect and grow a city system that kept that city alive. And you all have done a fabulous job economically. What could y'all do if y'all did have a system? There's no telling what could happen to your kids, to your community. And I'm going to tell you, it's probably all going to be good.
We might finally beat Thompson.
Well, that's probably when I'll probably lose my job.
Just saying. Just gonna throw that out there.
You had to bring that up, didn't
Bring
you?
it up, didn't I?
Hey, I mean, your wife's a wildcat at heart.
I,
That's what I always
will,
say.
I will tell you,
Hey.
there's nothing like hearing the county high fight song.
I
will
still-
stop what I'm doing to hear it.
Well, my husband's at Hillcrest High School, so when he took that job, everybody's like, where's your heart? Where's her heart gonna be? And he's like, on that football field with me. Like, her heart's not gonna be with County High. But I mean,
Oh, there's nothing like hearing it.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's probably the only way I got my first job in Tuscaloosa County was that, you know, when I got through being interviewed for the 900th time, I'd been principal, worked at the State Department in Kentucky, done all this stuff. And I'm like, what do I have to do? How much experience do you have to have? I know every word to the County High fight song. I know the alma mater. I've never been, I know all this stuff. I worked, you know, at County High, not as a teacher, but I did my student teaching as part with Gary Bonner. I said, what do I have to do? And she kind of laughed at, as you know, Joyce, and said, you might just have enough.
Yeah. If you might,
Of course, I'd kind of gotten a little fed up with, Dr. Hinton knows, because I called him every day when I was trying to.
Then when she offered him the job, she called me to tell
Yeah,
me.
she didn't offer me, well, because she wanted me to do a middle. She kind of courted me to do middle in high school. Then she appointed me principal at Crestmont.
So she didn't
And
get her
she called
buy-in.
Pam and said, Pam, tell Wayne he's at Crestmont.
And I didn't care.
Yeah, she's like, we're going back.
Yeah.
So she
Are
was,
you ready to come back home?
I know. Well, guys, I've kept y'all way, way later than I ever thought about. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You know the passion that we have, and I just appreciate y'all taking the time to come here, talk to them, because your passion rejuvenated me, and I wanted them to see it. I wanted them to experience it, and I think you have. I think it's given us a lot to think about, a lot to talk about at our next meeting, which is in a week and a half, I think. So we take some notes, mental notes.
well, it is worth the fight.
It's hard work, but
Yeah,
It's worth it.
we both have aged quite a bit. But I will tell you, it's worth it when you get that call, and when you see, 23, 24 championships or runner-ups in 8 years, you get recognized nationally. We just got that college success award. You just got recognized by AP, College Board, and good gosh, that right now is why we thrive, because we get that for what we do for kids. And I'm gonna tell you something, there's nothing better than saying you could do something, doing it, and doing it well. Nothing that can.
I'm gonna say this because I don't ever, some other people can't say it. If no, Whitney's like, shut up. Obviously the whole council has to get on board, and I don't have any idea what besides Woodrow and Jamie, what their thoughts are on stuff. But I know some of them, and I know some of them are difficult, and so
I will say they were invited tonight.
we'll see. And I think that's the other part of it. Like, I think that might be the me mentality of the hurdle. A lot of the
Dr.
hurdle.
Hinton is out of town. Let me
Yeah, I
specify
know
that.
that.
Dr. Hinton is in Louisiana, or he would be here, which is why we're recording this for him. So
Dr. Hinton, if anybody could be against it, because he had 40-something years of stellar performance and work in the county schools. And he's a council member and he's on board. And what's everybody else thinking? That's just my 2 cents.
Right.
Here's the thing is, all you need is a majority vote.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask.
You want a unanimous vote, but it was a majority. I think they only had a majority. I think there was a couple of people that might have opposed it. But there was enough on that council that wanted to do it. All you have to have is a majority. You'd rather have everybody on board.
So it does not have to be unanimous. It just
Does
has
not
to
have to be
3
unanimous.
votes.
But I will tell you this, it's better to have it unanimous. And those that oppose you, vote them out.
Well, yeah.
Because if they're not going to, if they've got some kind of petty, political agenda that does not think of kids, that can't vote, then you don't need it.
Well,
And,
Dr. John said, if we can prove to him that the children will be better off, then he's all for it.
Well, I think.
How could you not?
Well, because you have a mindset of some people who say, oh, I didn't run for the school board.
Mhm.
I didn't run to take care of our schools. I ran to take care of our community or our city, which doesn't make sense to me. It's like, that does not make any sense. And I've said that over and over. It's like, how can you say that? The county school kids are all of Northport City.
Right.
So why would you're representing them too. So I think that's going to be one of the bigger hurdles, because, and I say that is when you say to do a report for the mayor and the council, do you recommend, either Woodrow or Jamie presenting that to the council, or do you recommend one of our committee to present it to the council?
Well, it is what I would suggest, and I'm going to talk to Adam about that, because I'm going to see how they present I know in Saraland, they had a committee that worked on it, and the council president actually presented it. And that was Howard Rubenstein, who later became mayor.
Mhm.
He presented it, but he had the committee with him, and they all had parts that spoke to him. And of course, there was not a unanimous group on that city council. Of course, they were all voted out, the ones that opposed it, the next time with about 90% of the vote. And there's not been anyone that's opposed the school system again ever elected in Saraland since. Alabaster, everybody came and got a picture with me and the board that ran this time.
They did.
Every one of them. And they all won big. And when I was in Robin, still won handily. But they realize you can't argue with results. And the people that don't want something are trying to hold on to something that's no longer there. The ship had sailed in our schools for when we mattered. We had schools built, we were divided up. They built us a sixth grade center and sold it as the greatest thing. And that's where my central office is right now. And every day I walk through that place, I'm like, how in the world did we have 600 kids in this place? It makes me angry that I couldn't get it done quick enough to get out of there. And, we had one building, we had kids in it that were built in the 40s, 50s.
Riverside's the oldest school in the county now.
Christmas.
I know Crestmont. I didn't get a new roof at Crestmont until I had to call Frank Costanza, one Saturday morning. He said, "Hey, Frank, I think I'm gonna have to have a new roof." He said, "Oh, your roof's fine." I said, "Well, look, it's all caved in, and I'm sitting in here in about ankle deep water in my office. So yeah, we're going to have a new roof now." He said, "Well, we can cover it on insurance. We can get it done now." So I got a new roof, and thank goodness Para helped us do some other things around it to fix it up. And academically, we really worked hard to improve the academics there. And
they did, Crestmont got a B plus, I think, was the first B they'd ever gotten in forever. I mean.
oh yeah, they worked hard. And at that time, Dibbles was a big thing. And when we got there at Crestmont, first year, we were 13th out of 15 elementary schools in the county. And I left 3 years later, went to Hillcrest, we were like 6th on Dibbles scores overall. And, and it was hard work. But I had some great teachers. All they needed were resources and opportunity. And loved it. So y'all just, y'all got to make the decision. And I'm sorry, I could talk all night, but I know y'all are tired, and I'm tired. I've been at it since about 6:30. I actually was out on the road at 6:30. So, but I want to tell you, if you want it, you can get it. And, but all I can tell you is whoever you hire, they've got to have fire and passion, and they do not settle for anything other than what you would have running a school or a classroom that you put your kid in. That's the rule I use every time we hire people. And of course,
If there's anybody that oppose, all they need to see is this right here.
Yeah.
And if they need more, just watch that recorded right there.
Yeah,
you know.
and come see it.
Thank you very much.
And you know what? I honestly believe we got a majority easy. If I had to guess it, and what I've gauged, I believe it's a majority. It's 2 in here now, so.
What's the role of a city administrator though in this decision? Like, because they don't have any say so at all.
Now,
Okay.
the city administrator is tasked with doing the will of the council.
Okay.
I know
Okay.
that
and if they don't, well, never mind, I ain't gonna get into that. That's the mayor's business. I'll tell you, Mayor, you know how to handle that, but you guys, y'all got such potential. The first time I met you was at County High, Thompson County. And I told someone after I met Bobby, I said, he's got vision. He wants to really do some things, with Northport. And that's been years ago.
Yeah.
And I told Pam when you sent me a text, I said, I'm going to do what I can to help them. First of all, because Crestmont gave me my first real principalship opportunity. And so I felt like I owed Northport. And they always treated me very well.
And what a legacy to come back and help.
We feel like you still owe us.
Full circle.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like,
Still
I
old.
mean, I know.
Well, I think my board member has this bug in here. He almost wakes up, well, I'm gonna just ride along with y'all. I'm worried about this.
When you hire somebody, and we're old, so we can say this, when you hire somebody, it's got to be somebody that has a support system at home too, because it is not an easy job.
No.
It is, if you want to be good, it is not an easy job.
And you're gonna miss your kids' stuff, and I have this conversation with my people I hire all the time. I'm like, hey, you can't make it to every kid's ball game if you're gonna be one of my chiefs. You can't do it.
Make it to a lot of them.
Make it
but
to a
you
lot
can-
of them. We'll try to make all your home ones, we're gonna get there. But, you might not be able to leave at 2:00. We got
You may not be able to coach church league ball
Right.
anymore.
And
Yeah, we got work to do.
when I became superintendent of Demopolis was the last year that I coached my sons. And my youngest, I didn't ever coach at all. And I was a pretty good coach, basketball, baseball. So, that's sad, but you don't get the work. The work comes from thinking, how many times do I wake up thinking about the school system? It's like my third child. And you don't want anyone. And I will tell you, the younger group is coming up,
Oh, yeah, I know.
it is different. So you're going to have to find someone that has a passion and they will love this city. Because it's like a new baby.
Well, I think finding someone that's done this before, I mean,
Right, not
I
somebody
think,
fresh
I
out.
mean, honestly, like if I were to say, hey, I think we should present this and I would want someone, I mean, like y'all. And I say y'all because the passion that you both have. If someone's never done it, I think it's going to be a lot of hurdles here. I think that it can be done, definitely. But I think the political part of it will be more of the challenge. And I think you got to have someone, like you said, that really cares. And
Who's seasoned.
yeah,
Who's done it?
But and that will pour everything they have into your children. Because every kid in our school system believes that we're an advocate for them.
mhm.
They believe it. They know that chips are down, that we're going to find a way to help them.
But you know as well as I do, when you keep hitting a wall, it's real hard to keep. I just had this conversation. It's easier to accept average than it is to keep being hit and falling down and having to get back up. And eventually, you just quit getting back up. Most people. So you have to find those people, that
Get back up.
And-
will not.
And I said it before I said it to them. I'm related to a lot of the coffee club people who will try to tell you not to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they try to
And
tell
that
you,
is all the more reason that I want you to do it.
they're the ones that come up with your Christmas tree and say, hey, the lights aren't twinkling. That's them.
Yeah.
But if you think they're going to get anywhere, I love them, but I don't depend on them for anything or any, the amens have got to come from parents. And when your parents believe in what you do, the rest, politicians will take nothing. Because we have 13,000 parents in our city, and they will do anything in the world for our school system. But what I love is our city council and mayor embrace it. And the mayor's wife is one of my principals, and she does a fabulous job. But I had to have a tough conversation with her. She wanted to be an administrator, and I said, hey, you have no experience. I don't hire anybody without any experience. So here she was. He was city council president at the time. And she said, well, I don't need this. Well, do what I had to do. You had to go out and get some experience and then come back. Well, guess what she did? She followed that advice, went to Hoover, got a couple of years assistant principal. Now she's back as principal. Did everything I asked her to do. Then there's no question.
Yeah.
That's the kind of people that you have to have that are willing to do that. She didn't grumble, didn't fuss about it. So I have so much respect for people that can make those kind of decisions. Say, well, I'm doing what he told me to do. I'm going out and getting experience. I don't love Hoover, but gave him my AP job. And I got experience. Now she's principal. Those are the kinds of things that, sacrifices that have to be made. And she's a go-getter and moved her school. And that's what we look for. But y'all, anything we can do to help you, we'll be glad to. Dr. Hinton, you've got so much respect for him. Dr. John's just been a wonderful person, and I will tell him, and I hope he listens to this. He's one that kept me interested in the county schools. It had not been for him taking I called his office all the time when I was trying to get a job. And he said, Wayne, you just got to be patient. He was professional. He always demanded excellence in his job. And, he really needs to be a leader on this. Because I think if Dr. Hinton comes out and says, I support that, I think it will mean the world to a lot of people.
It will speak volumes.
It will.
If he comes.
And that
out.
just is respect I have.
Yes.
Always had tremendous respect for his thoughts, and would be glad to talk to him. Y'all can share my cell number with him at any time.
Yeah, he wants to sit down and talk. We'll get that.
Yeah, I feel like this isn't gonna be y'all's last visit.
Well, but we're willing to help, and I will tell you, I have board members that said they would be glad to talk with you all. One of them was a former council member, and he is a fabulous person and a great individual, very fiery, passionate about schools. And he's also, very passionate about, keeping things clean and neat. There's one thing that the two of us do not like: pulling up at a school, grass not to be cut, paper on the ground, whatever.
Don't drive and look at ours.
Yeah,
Please.
Yeah, I'm pretty intense. So I'm sorry, y'all.
Hey, very good.
You did.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank y'all so much.
Oh, thank y'all. I appreciate what y'all willing to do.